Russ Clark with you on a Tuesday morning. Happy Tuesday. The Mortgage One Studios. Thank you to Derek. I saw Derek this morning. I don't see him much. Of course, Derek Egbert is the owner, operator here at Mortgage One. Is also the one that's signed contracts to buy the station, AM 560, which I have a retro banner behind me. It's not active. It's old. It's retro. But it's going to so far with no hiccups. It's waiting on FCC approval and still hopefully by August maybe. They said it takes up to 90 days to get the FCC approval, and I think all the equipment, everything has been purchased. At least we think so. Till the technicians puts it all together, we may find out differently, but. And it should be all hooked up, ready to go before any approval anyway. So that's anyway. But I saw him this morning. He works hard. He's the president, El Presidente of the Caballeros de Yuma, as well as doing Mortgage One, owner, operator, and probably lead seller. He got a full plate. And he just ran. He just ran unsuccessfully. He ran for city council, which I applaud. I would like to see him on city council. He may miss getting the signature, so he ran as a write-in, which I probably could. Probably. I mean, it was a lot of work, a lot of time. He spent some money to get that all done, and the chances of ever pulling that off are very slim. Very slim. Much like Carlos tried to run against Mayor Nichols. And he put a lot of money into it. I still haven't spoken with him since that ended. I'm curious. I'm curious as to what he really wanted to accomplish. I really don't know why he was running for mayor, to tell you the truth. And I've talked to him, but I don't think he had a good answer other than Doug wasn't doing the job. And yet he couldn't explain what that job is. He didn't really know. Pretty green. I saw him as like a Mandani kind of guy. And maybe that's an unfair assessment. I don't know. But I really didn't. I didn't understand it all. Secret Service. They're probing and looking into the threats made against Melania Trump and Barron Trump. And I don't know that that's been highlighted. It was obvious that they both were absent from the correspondence dinner, which may or may not have been related to that. Correspondence dinner, which was held at the old Trump Hotel, now the Waldorf, I guess, Astoria. It held much less people. I mean, it couldn't hold the same crowd as the Hilton, so they had to scale it down. And it may have been part of that. It may have been part of the security. Don't know. The Secret Service doesn't give us those details justifiably. But apparently there's videos out there, people saying that they want to attack Barron Trump and call him for the assassination of the First Lady, Melania Trump. That was published actually by a media outlet linked to the Islamic Republic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. Not really a surprise. Scary, nonetheless. You hate to see that in writing. You hate to see that in video, that they're actually doing those things. And they're taking it serious. The U.S. Secret Service is aware, they say, of the materials and investigating anything perceived as a threat, which I would assume they were. Tasnim, that's an IRGC affiliate. They're. And my understanding of the Islamic Guard, their Islamic Revolutionary Guard, their information and their thing across the world pretty strong. They have a pretty good organization to gather intel and to see what's going on in the world. So that makes it more scary. The video that came out was titled "Where to Kill Melania," and they claim to have information about our security detail, how it operates, and it points to vulnerabilities and possible vulnerabilities that are out there that Melania possibly could be caught with. It's just numbing. I mean, it shouldn't be happening. Those kind of things out there. And I'd really like her as a first lady and everything. I like her, and she gets no positive attention from the press corps. But unlike Michelle Obama, who was on, or Jill Biden, who was on the cover of magazines and stuff many times, Melania is actually a model, like a supermodel, and no, I don't want to talk to her. She's a gracious, wonderful lady. That she gets this kind of stuff. They they say they have operations by global freedom fighters. Some of them suggested there might be some targets here, and I mean some fighters here in the United States. Sleeper cells or something like that. But to my knowledge, nothing's ever been verified on that, and there certainly hasn't been any public arrest or public mention of that. They say this is just the beginning. Barron Trump waits for us. And he's not hard to spot. I don't know, he's 6'6" or something. Tall guy. They kept him out of the news until he was 18 or so. They've done a good job of that. Nate Herring, he's the lead public affairs specialist with the Secret Service, he's the agency. He said the Secret Service is aware of the video and investigates anything that could be perceived as a threat towards our protectees. Out of concern for operational security, we do not discuss matters of protective intelligence. So, yeah, makes sense. During the funeral procession for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, now that was just done a few weeks ago. It's weird for them to hold up a funeral. There's some specifics on the Muslim faith or whatever on having that more timely, but they didn't do that for the head of state there. And he said ladies were running around with signs saying "Kill Trump," and there was this huge banner, must have been about a half a block long, and said "Kill Trump." And they were shouting, "I swear by the blood of the supreme leader, Trump, we will kill you." And Trump's comment was, "I've been on their list or target list for a long time. That's what we're dealing with. The only thing is I've left instruction if anything happens to just literally bomb them at levels that they've never seen before." I did see that clip. I saw that clip. He said that's kind of weird. Of course, right after that whole Khomeini funeral and all, that's when it pretty much started back up. The kinetic part, and put out 1,000 missiles, right out to it. Well, Trump said there were 1,000 missiles locked and loaded, aimed at Iran, with thousands more ready to follow if the regime assassinated me. Of course, we know for 13 days that those bombing runs picked up, and I think they were much more devastating in the first 10 days. They really got on. He said orders have already been given. The U.S. military is ready, willing, and able. I heard something from Victor David Hansen the other day about possible outcomes of the Iran situation. Call it a war, skirmish. I don't know what you're going to call it. It's not a declared war. Of course, we haven't had one since World War II was the last one. But warlike activity, and apparently there's some negotiations going on now. It's been 4 days now since they've done any bombings. They did it for 13 days straight. Having a little breather, a little pause right now. But of course, infrastructure was taken out, which wasn't done before, like bridges, railroads, things that would supply. Ukraine even took out one of their supply ships. Supply ships that was apparently bringing in military aid to Iran, and they're kind of angry about it. They've vowed to retaliate against Ukraine for that, which they've been helping Russia with Ukraine for 4 years. I don't think Ukraine really worries about it. They've done all they can already and continue working on. But Victor David Hansen said something about Trump, and with a recognition that we've got an election coming up in November, and some of the key issues, and the Democrats have put in one key issue out in front. I don't know if you've noticed that. The one key issue is price, affordability, groceries, and they're putting it right on the shoulders of Trump now. Inflation escalated under Biden up to 9%, and he didn't care. There was nothing in place to try to take care of the inflation. I think there was an Inflation Reduction Act that had nothing to do with inflation. It was all green energy. They bragged about it after it passed, that now we can get the green energy in place. It actually probably caused inflation. So they didn't really care about it, and the press didn't really write about it. There wasn't much on it. And the inflation now is down in the between 2 and 3, which is right near, it's within reach of the goals. And also we could talk about is affordability from the Democrat side, which says you something about, I guess, what the party has to lean on for acceptability or to the voters. It's not a lot. It's pretty thin. They're leaning on that. And it was Biden that escalated it. But when President Trump comes in and he's going to work on inflation, that doesn't mean that it goes right back down to pre-Biden. I don't think that's even possible. It stops the escalation. And on that has been, I don't know if accomplished is right, but it's definitely at a lower pace, and there's systems in place, growth in place. It's going to continue on that. And the big hiccup and the vulnerability is the Iran war, which of course has hit gas prices, and the gas prices affects everything. And still we're not hitting numbers of 8 and 9. As much as the Iranian Guard wants it to happen, and they look at this thing intelligently. They know that there's an election and coming up, and their goal is to just survive, and they think that Trump has to back off in order to go into November. And maybe he does. I don't know. Do the people of the United States want him to back off and find a solution? Absolutely. And that's bipartisan, by far bipartisan, is to find an exit, to have an exit plan. I don't know what it is yet. I mean, you start getting troops on the ground or try to create a forever war, like he said he vows against, and I don't see that happening. If there is boots on the ground, the only thing I could possibly imagine at this point, from listening, of course, I'm not the researcher on all this, but I listen to enough commentators, military backgrounds, military understanding that do talk about it, and from what I've seen, they talk about the possibility maybe of Karg Island, or one of the islands out there, which would have so many problems. Some of that is not only that, it's taking a small island that will be difficult to begin with, possibly very difficult. They're dug in or whatever, if they're still there. It would not be the simplest. I mean, our Marines could probably get that done very easily, but not without probability of somebody getting hurt or equipment damaged and stuff. I mean, don't take it lightly. And then once you've achieved that, and okay, you've got the island, it's an island. It doesn't move. And they know how to target it. And with whatever they've got left with missiles, whoever occupies that is very close to the mainland and an extreme danger ongoing. So I don't see the upside. Maybe I don't know. I haven't been convinced of any upside, because holding it would be really hard. Holding it without consequences. I mean, do I think they could rush it and take it back over from the Marines? Probably not. But would there be loss of life in the middle? Highly probable. Highly probable. So it's something I hope it doesn't happen. But as far as exit strategy, Victor David Hansen suggested something that I thought was unique anyway. He said, well, we should just support a regime change, one that isn't necessarily in the country. One that's outside the country. Ignore the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Ignore them. Don't even talk to them. Tell them we're going to support the new leaders who happen to be in wherever they are, France or Saudi Arabia or Qatar, wherever they are. And I thought that was an interesting concept, and I'll explain it more because it didn't sound good to me at first, but maybe. Let's talk Ted this morning. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, Russ. Good morning, Yuma.
I'll say good morning for him.
All right. President will be on soon. I'll be listening to him, but I wanted to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
Reptiles.
All right.
Copperheads. Copperheads. Listen, copperhead snakes, okay? I grew up with them in Virginia.
Right. I think they're all over the states.
Yeah. You could cut their head off, and it can still kill you.
Well,
But,
yeah.
Whoa. This is in reference to Iran.
Okay.
We don't need to be cutting their head off because their babies, which are the surrogates around the Middle East areas and all, and here in this country now, that were allowed to come in here without vetting them or anything, their babies are 10 times more deadly than the parent.
But they're already gonna attack us whether we cut the heads off or not. But as far as leadership goes, they've eliminated leadership a couple times over in the Guard. So yeah, they're not gone, but I don't know that what Trump's doing is wrong. What would you suggest?
Kill the babies.
Well, I think that's ongoing too. I mean, there's continuous attacks. I think it's more like against equipment and their ability to attack back. I don't think that's lost on anybody to be on the lookout for that. But they're still targeting leadership.
Yeah, I don't want any deals. I want him to cut their head off, and I want him to kill their babies.
Well, I don't.
All of them.
So you're talking genocide?
No.
Okay.
I didn't say kill the Iranian people. I said they're surrogates.
Well, I'm sure they know who they are, and there's a list on that. If if nothing else, to be arrested and prosecuted or whatever, or take it back to Iran and let them handle it. But I agree that there needs to be diligence in finding out if there is somebody in the United States and keeping a close eye on that and across the world. And I know they put in caution out there of any world traveler that's from the United States, any American world traveler, to be cautious anywhere you are. Doesn't matter which country, because there's a possibility if someone's out there that would do you harm.
They've already threatened him and his wife and children.
I know. Yeah, that's pretty scary. But they've threatened everybody. I mean, they've threatened every Gulf state. They've threatened Ukraine. They're just the most pompous people, arrogant, amazing. They've been bombed like crazy. Much of their
not enough.
Much of their stuff is in rubble.
That head is still able to kill you.
I don't understand what the head looks like, though. I mean, who is it? It's not a person.
It's their idea, man.
I know you can't.
They'll never change this. I've worked with these people. You cannot change their philosophy.
Well, some people change, but look, I think he's doing the things he needs to do right now. I don't know if there's a different plan or if you're suggesting a different pathway.
Yeah, I want him to cut the head off, mash it with the cinder blocks, kill every one of their surrogates.
They're not snakes. He's working on a military action against that leadership, and he's been pretty successful at that. I think that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. Okay. I want him to protect the Christian church.
Yeah.
And I want him to smash their head and kill all their surrogates.
Is there any Christian churches left in Iran at this point?
There's some.
Because there was a big exodus of Christians when the Shah was overthrown, and many of them got out.
There's some there.
Yeah. In fact, that's where I have
whether they make it public or not, I don't know. But
I'd be careful.
If you have to die, you have to die, and your belief and your faith is overpowering. Jesus said He'd protect us. Okay.
Yeah.
He will protect us.
Right.
But I'm telling you, they need to cut that head off.
Okay.
Mash it with a cinder block.
I got you. Cinder block, cutting off heads. I got it.
Right.
It doesn't sound like a good thing I want to put on paper.
On paper?
I mean, right down here's a plan for you. Cut the heads off and smash it with a cinder block. I don't
Well,
think
that's
I
how
don't
we
think
did
that
it in the
works. I don't think
country in
Higseth can do
Virginia,
much
you
with that.
know.
What?
We have plenty of cinder blocks,
Okay. All
but
right.
look, if, if, talking ain't going to work. It will not work, Russ.
Well,
He can believe that all he
I
wants,
don't think
but
they're
it's
just
not
talking,
going to
Ted.
work.
They're not talking, just talking. Look, they did 10 days and talk, didn't work. So they did 13 more days, talk. If it doesn't work, then they'll do 20 days. I don't know, but eventually they're going to listen to force, just like the Japanese did. Japanese weren't talk either. Japanese were too proud. They were not going to give up. They would rather die than give up. But you know what? Now they're a westernized country. But it was bloody. Not just the nuclear bombs, but the fire bombing before that killed hundreds of thousands. And they still said, we'll never give up. We'll never give up. First atomic bomb, they said, we'll never give up. Second one says, let's talk. And people like you said it could never happen. The Japanese culture, it'll never work. You can't do it. Can't do it. It happened.
I'm not talking about the Iranian people. I'm talking about the mullahs.
Okay. All
Simply
right.
the mullah, the heretics of that country.
In the meantime, why there's still mullahs available, they seem to have the Iranian people, the ones that don't agree with the mullahs at least, at bay. They have no way to protect themselves. They don't have the firepower, let alone the training or whatever, to do all that. And that's a better option, though, is to work it within neighbors, not have the United States involved in that. We don't want to be a conquering. We don't want to be a conquering country, but yeah.
Right. Remember what I told you about? All I have to do to make you do anything I want is to hold your child hostage.
Which one?
Any of them. Any child. Anybody's child.
We have
I can make you do anything I want if I hold your child hostage.
I don't know.
And tell you I'm going to kill your child
if
you do not do as I please.
Yeah.
And that's basically the same scenario that's going on over there. Cut their head off, kill all the surrogates, and be done with it.
All right, Ted.
Be done with it.
Not a plan I can really wrap my head around.
I know you
can't do that.
I know you can't. I know you can't. But that is the solution.
Doesn't sound well thought out.
What do you mean it's not?
Well, give me a list. Give me whose heads you want. I mean, I don't know.
All the mullahs. Every one of them.
Every mullah.
Every one of them. Did you ever hear the thing, March on Christian Soldiers?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right.
That's Ted with the guillotine Ted. No, I can't wrap my head around that, but I understand his message is the force is going to be used, and force will be used, and force is being used. That's by Trump. But there is a breaking point for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody, but there is a breaking point. We'll see, and a breaking point to where the people of Iran that want a better life stand up. And there's been some. I mean, there's been riots. There's been things going on. It's just not normal because they killed 40,000 rioters beforehand. But Victor Davis Hanson had something about supporting a government in exile, and talking to them. And I thought that sounds crazy. I mean, how could that even work? A government in exile, they have no power. They're not there. Well, apparently that's how the mullahs got in power in the first place. Ayatollah, the first Khomeini, declared himself the leader of the government, after this, when the Shah was gone, but he wasn't in country. I guess he wasn't in country. Well, during the Shah, he wasn't in country, but he declared himself the leader. And I think he was in Iraq, Iran. I can't remember. One of the former other countries. And then when the Shah was outed and gone and kicked out, he moved to France. And he apparently was building a government, building everything For 13 years, according to David Hansen. I didn't research it beyond him, and he's a historian, so I trusted him. He said that actually the Ayatollahs worked on the formation of that government for 13 years. And then there was an overthrow of the Shah, and they jumped in and took over at that point. But they were an exiled government and apparently loved by Europeans. They moved. He moved to France. France loved him, and they took pictures with him and said he was a great leader and all that kind of stuff. He sucked him in that he was the next guy. And sure enough, when the people of Iran threw the Shah out, the mullahs stepped in. They already had it all planned. They had 13 years putting a government together in exile. He said we should do the same to them. Have a government in exile that's ready to take over and build that government in exile. And then, and everybody knew it. Khomeini was in the news. He was out there and he was talking about, eventually going in and taking back from the Shah, taking over for the Shah. And sure enough, he did it. And for 47 years, he's been at war with us. The great Satan, little Satan being Israel. And he wanted to. He's been gone, but he wanted to kill us all. And they've been doing that under the current Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, building a war machine, a destruction, not defensive, offensive, and they needed to cap it off with that nuclear bomb. And in order to protect that nuclear bomb, that's why all the drones, that's why all the missiles, that's why everything. Nobody would dare attack our borders. We control the water waves. They had a tremendous amount of infrastructure around that Hormuz Strait, and lots of missiles hidden all over the country, deep into bedrock, to protect their nuclear development, which didn't work thanks to the B-2 bombers as well as Israel, that went in and knocked out a lot of the radars, and then allowed the B-2s in. That knocked it out for now. We just need to. Trump is not going to leave until it's forever. That we get the material back, that we get agreements, and I applaud him for the discussion. Although he's not real high on it either. It's not just Ted. President Trump doesn't expect a lot, and he expects that we'll talk for a little while. Maybe we'll have to go back, and I think he'll do that, and he'll sacrifice this upcoming election for it. Unfortunately, if he has to, I think he will. He'll sacrifice it for to make sure that these people do not become anything. But I agree. I don't know what that government in exile looks like. I don't know where they come from. But it shouldn't be us selecting it. It shouldn't be the United States handpicking it. I think that would universally bring condemnation, and it would be a puppet of the United States, and that would never work. But there's countries over there that we've been working with that would have some solutions, some friendly countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, that want business, that want hotels, that want to work. They don't have an ideology that wants to kill everybody. They would be the ones, I think, that could better understand it. Maybe the Kurds and some of that stuff going on. We'll see. We'll see what goes on. But it was kind of interesting. I have no idea if there's any plans like that in the works, but it might be our best policy. What he suggested was that government in exile could be set up. All the states around them, the Gulf states, have about 900 aircraft, 900 fighting aircraft. If they decided to pull together and say we're not going to let Iran do any kind of shenanigans, like let's say if they come to an agreement that we're not going to bomb anymore, we're not going to send drones anymore, and we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. If that deal could be done, then most of the United States extra troops could just go. I mean, we have stuff stationed there already, and according to David Hansen, that would probably include about 500 aircraft from the United States, about 900 from the Gulf states, and of course Israel, so that just as a double check that if there could be agreement with everybody, As long as they behave, those airplanes stay on the tarmac. And if they don't, the neighbors take care of it. Because they're in a weakened enough state now that that would be possible. So it sounds like David Hansen is maybe something workable where the United States could pull back, and at the same time the oil would flow, and the future, at least, would be somewhat in the right direction if we can keep it. Just like Venezuela. Venezuela, it's calm right now. I don't think there's any guarantee. If we take our foot off of things, it probably could go back. But right now, they're enjoying commerce over communism. I mean, not New York City, but Venezuela. New York City's, I guess, would rather have communism than commerce. Let me see, Hobbs. Hobbs was in town the other day. I haven't talked much about it being in town. She's not my favorite governor by any means. She was in town, and of course, there's an election going on. She has Andy Biggs as an opponent coming up. And so she's got to put some lipstick on her governorship and tell what great things she's done and going to do and all that kind of stuff. So interested in listening to that. She was just at Chili Pepper when she was here last Thursday. And she discussed education priorities, rising costs. Of course, rising costs are going to come out of the mouths of every single Democrat right now. It's their number one issue. It's just the only thing they've got. And it's not even Trump's fault. It comes from Biden, but they're going to say it's Trump's rising costs. We care about the groceries or whatever. And they want to talk to people about something they care about, other than the stupid priorities they've been having, which is boys and ladies sports type stuff. That seems to have overwhelmed everybody, and they want to hate the rich, take money from wealthy people and redistribute it, equity type things, DEI, men in dresses. I mean, they have held on to some of the most ridiculous programs that the majority of people are absolutely opposed. I know Democrats hold their nose and vote for it anyway. They do. They don't resist it. But Haas sat down and talked about with the Gutierrez family there at Chili Pepper, and they said policies that the White House tariff policies are driving up restaurant supply costs. Absolutely not true. But that's what's in their head, that these tariffs are driving up the supply costs. Biden drove up the supply costs. The tariffs have proven not to drive up. In fact, not all the tariffs are in place that he wants to have in place. He said and they keep mentioning high prices, and of course that's coming right out of the left-wing book right now. That's the one thing. She also brought up education. Though education is a big deal for Katie. She hates the fact that that Arizona in whole is freedom to choose on education. You got the freedom to choose. We have the ESA program, and that ESA program is both parties, Democrats, Republicans, enjoy the heck out of it. Doesn't matter. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat. I mean, every family that's in on it is enjoying it. And she's been lying about it all along. Although I didn't see too many lies in this one. She kind of backed off on the cost of ESA because that's always been a lie. Let's talk to Gilbert. Good morning, Gilbert.
Well, let me think here for a second.
Okay.
How about the minimum wage? The fact that it's going up, doesn't it cut into their profits?
Hugely. Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. I mean,
they didn't bring that up. Who's the one that's pushing for higher minimum wages?
Well, that's always been the left.
Yeah. Yes. But what I'm getting at is they create a problem, then they blame everybody else.
Correct. And they want to raise it more. If you listen to AOC and others, it needs to be much higher now because of inflation. Well, minimum wage helped create inflation, and now they say, well, because of inflation, we need a minimum wage even higher, and that would just be that would be going around in a circle forever,
Right. So the thing with the Democratic Party, they're pretty smart because they put up stuff like that for us to go back and forth with instead of dealing with the real problem.
I think so.
Yeah. the border issue, all this killing that's going across America, all the drug use that's coming all across America,
Right.
The infrastructure that's being destroyed by the Democratic Party, the Socialist Party. They'll pick they'll cherry pick stuff to get our attention. So we'll
well,
fight off that.
and that's typical about any politics. So, you always pick the things that make you look best. But
Yeah,
but
yes,
we know
we
that they're
waste-
hiding it because they are for open borders.
Yep.
And they still, I mean, I haven't heard it in a while where they say, well, we just need comprehensive border reform, meaning another law, which has been crap since day one. It was a lie for 4 years under Biden. They didn't need that. You just need a president to enforce the laws that are on the book. Period. That's it. Enforce the laws.
But Russ, we have a simple way of doing a lot of this stuff. When they start talking about deaths from ISIS, why don't we bring out the deaths of the illegal aliens and post the pictures? We don't do that.
Yeah, I know.
I think if we start doing it, most America would really open up their eyes. But we play patty cake with these idiots.
Trump has been better about that. I mean, he's done some of that on the White House lawn and stuff and put up pictures.
Yeah. Okay, Trump is one man.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
a whole bunch of other politicians out here in America called Republicans that should be doing that. We can't rely on Trump to do all that.
of course not.
All our but we're not saying that. We're playing patty cake with the Democrats, and I'm tired of it.
What would you want the Republicans to do stronger? What would you want? You want
I would want them to push all the killings that the illegal aliens have done. First, that's number one. Number two, I would put out all the money we have spent with illegal aliens. That's another thing. I don't want them to put out all the shenanigans with all the NGOs that had helped created this problem. That's what we need to do. We need to do it all the time. We can't pick and choose when to do it.
Some of
We need
that's
to do it all.
some of that's already happening. And I know mainstream press isn't going to run with it a lot, but,
Well, I
but
know,
those things
but
are
we
being
have a-
released on a regular basis.
Really? Then why is it in a conversation with somebody yesterday? I won't mention the person's name because
Okay.
I really enjoyed her.
Yeah.
But we were talking, and I told her I was conservative, and I was I love Trump, and she hated Trump,
Yeah.
and she accused Trump of killing people. I go, where is he killing people? And she brought up Iran, and I looked at her and I go, let me think. These guys been threatening us for 40 some years to kill us. Now that we're starting to destroy that regime, you think it's wrong because we're killing people? You need to realize how many people have died, how many Americans have died because of them.
Yes.
She looked at me with a puzzled look. I go, do you remember those Marines that were killed? She goes, what? Oh, I don't remember that. That tells me.
Yeah.
And she wasn't a young lady. No, she was not a young lady.
Yeah.
And then I go, I suppose you're anti-ICE too. Oh yes, but no, I don't want to talk about that. I go, why not?
There's a reason.
I go, you're upset because the ICE killing these people. She goes, well, yes. And then I go, how about all the 2,000, maybe 3,000 Americans that were killed by that? All of a sudden, she didn't want to talk.
That's right. They don't want information. That's amazing. That is true.
Yeah, but the reason she didn't want to talk about it because there's not that information being pushed out. She thinks those were lies. That's all propaganda.
I think it's out there. I'm agreeing with you. It's not the headline. The headline's always the poor school teacher that was killed by ICE. Of course, you get video of this school teacher ramming her car into police.
But we should have. I know we have the money. The American public has the money to push our narrative across the airwaves like the Democrats do. We just choose not to.
I think it's good to get the information out there, Gilbert. I do, but that shouldn't be the narrative of the Republican Party. They need to be talking about what we can do, and that's what they are doing. He's talking about what we can do, and that's what Trump primarily does.
Wait a minute, Russ.
Okay.
We can tell them what we can do, but we got to let the people know why we need to do what we need to do.
I'm not in disagreement. I'm not.
But we can't just say, well, the Republicans. No, we need to push it out there. Like the Democrats are pushing about ICE, we should be pushing about all the kids or all the people. The 10-month-old baby that was raped by illegal aliens that was released twice.
And I think the Republicans do a good job of that. And I think every time that the Trump has done a state of the state, he's always bringing some families in that have been hurt by illegal immigrants. And I think I think in Congress it's always discussed. Anytime they do meetings on illegal immigration, there's always people brought in who have lost loved ones
I'm
in
going to say
senseless
something
murders.
that
What's that?
you're going to disagree with me, but I don't
I'm
want
not
to sound I don't want to sound hateful. Let me finish, please.
Go.
I think they do a lot of it for feel good. It's a feel good.
Okay.
They make America feel good. I love that. I love that. Don't get me wrong. We need more. We need to be in your face to the Democratic Party. This is what you guys are agreeing to. We need to do that. We need to do that so these people that are on the thin wall, which way they want to vote for this midterm,
Yeah.
we can help change their minds and go to a conservative ideals. We can't have them on the wall anymore. We need to show them, Russ. We need to pull out the guns. We need to put all the guns, like what you're doing in Iran. That's what we should be doing in America.
I agree with you. We need to
patty cake.
we need to frontline our conservative ideals. But if you're talking about being our number one thing is just show pictures of people that were killed by illegal immigrants, and that's all we become. Now, and I'm telling you, and you say it's a feel good. I don't think it's ever a feel good to start mentioning the families that have lost children, to start mentioning the horrific incidences that have happened. And he hung up on me. Which is okay. It's not a feel good though. Let me get back to Katie Hobbs then, if he doesn't want to talk about that. The ESAs were mentioned. She still hates them. When I said she didn't lie about them as much, she used to talk about the ESAs are bankrupting Arizona. And there was many times between her and Chris Mays that they would be out there beating the drums, that the ESAs cost a huge amount of money and they're taking away our budgets and are bankrupting. And when in reality, ESAs were saving money because it cost half as much to have a kid doing homeschooling to the state as it did to have them in a public school. Half as much. But they kept perpetuating the lies. But I read this article today and some of her quotes about ESAs and all that, and that was not there. It was missing. So I guess the words got out that ESA is cheaper than public schools. And don't get me wrong, I think we should support public schools. I think we should. I think we should take care of the things that are a problem. I think we should take care of the things that are issues of indoctrination of crazy ideas and stuff and DEI and all that kind of stuff. And the reason that a lot of people have walked away from the public schools is they're embracing a lot of the policies that the population just flat doesn't want. What she did say, and she started talking about some of the propositions. I need to do a little more research on them, but she starts talking about the proposition on ESAs, and that is the way they're going to try to kill ESAs, is go to the voters and ask for propositions that feel good, sound good, and they're not. I'm going to have to go through them a little more deeply, but I'll be doing that today. But she says we need to have an education debate. Proposition 143 would prohibit state and local governments from negotiating collective bargaining agreements with public employee unions and restrict certain certain union-related activities in school, which, fine. We're a right-to-work state. Anybody can join the union that wants to, but we shouldn't pay for it. By that I mean union activities performed in school are fine as long as they pay for it, like any other organization that goes in. Organization goes in to use school property, they say, fine, come in, use our auditorium, do a dance. We rent it out for $1,000, whatever it is, and they should do the same. But the unions want to get a free ride. Okay, and then there's Proposition 320, which requires certain school districts to spend at least 60% of their operational spending on direct instructional expenses with funding reductions for districts that do not comply. I don't understand that. Um, I think what this is trying to force doing, and it may be well intentioned, but these propositions, I think, can create more problems than they'd solve. There's always a question about how much of the money you spend actually goes into the classroom. How much money? Well, and I'll tell you that the public schools quite often fail the scrutiny because they do a lot of things that are outside the classroom, and a lot of it is required by legislators. They think it would be a great idea to come up with do these different reports and these different programs outside the classroom. The legislators dictate a lot of that, and of course they put that in to receive state money. You got to operate like this, so they got to add personnel in the secretarial pool or whatever to get it all done, and then they come back and say you're not spending enough money in the classroom. So their answer, and that's why ESAs thrive. ESA they don't have all those rules. ESA says they just teach the kids. And of course, that would be homeschools, private schools, religious schools, your choice. Parents choose how to best educate the kids. I kind of love it. And so Proposition 320 would say, okay, you got to spend 60% in the classroom. Well, they have these other rules they got to do too. How do they accomplish all of it? It just adds so much contradictory rules and regulations. No wonder the superintendents need assistance trying to figure these things out. Now, Propositions 145 and 212 both address ESA's programs. 212 would generally limit eligibility to families earning 150 or less. Again, it's like go after the rich guys. The people that pay all the taxes, the rich guys pay big chunks of taxes are telling you can't belong to ESA because you make over 150,000. I don't make over 150,000. I don't expect to. I don't agree with that program. They don't have a rule unless they come up with a rule that says, look, if you make over $150,000, you got to pay $15,000 to have your kid go to high school, a public high school. Well, that would all be outrageous. You'd say, well, you can't pay for public education. It's public education. It's free. Even for rich people, billionaire can go to public education. Right, they can. They should also be able to participate in the ESA. It's the same thing to me. It's for the kids. It's not for the breadwinner of the family. It's for the kids. I don't agree with that. Because it just pushes people against each other and puts tribalism. You're a rich guy. You're totally different. You suck, and so no soup for you. And it's not big numbers. I mean, it's not big numbers of people anyway, probably. But anyway, that's something the left wants to do, is try to hurt ESA programs, I guess. The Arizona Secretary of State's finalized ballot language says Prop 145 would nullify Proposition 212. So we got two propositions. If they both pass, 145 would nullify 212. And it's a game they play, I guess. Hobbs proposed reforms to ESA programs each year. Yes, she has. What she calls reforms are actually poison pills. She says poison pills all the time for the ESA program, saying all homeschoolers need to do the same things that high schools do with big bureaucracies and keep tracks of forms and do all the nonsense that's outside the classroom. and thankfully we have a Republican legislature in there that said that's just nonsense. We're not doing it. Let the money go into the classroom. And homeschoolers don't, the parents that teach homeschool don't get paid even. That's not part of the program. They don't get paid. They volunteer. A lot of volunteerism goes in. But Hobbs wants to reform it by making it more expensive and more cumbersome and adding red tape. And that's just crap. She said Arizona Republicans have been unwilling to put any kind of accountability in place. And that's what she calls accountability, is putting in huge bureaucracies in the ESA program to where it'd be impossible for homeschoolers to exist. Because they don't like it. They want everything to go to a government school. It says, as a result, we're seeing all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse taking place by people taking taxpayer dollars that are supposed to be used for educational purposes like buying jewelry, lingerie, amusement park trips, and California ski passes. And see, all of that is really fabrication and lies. I don't know if there's ever been a case for any of it, and maybe there has been. But that's not the policy, and that's not the rule. If anything, our public schools have much more fraud going in. And I can tell you that ESA is a program that's so embraced by Tom Horn, who's responsible for checking these programs. He's not going to let anything get through that's improper because he doesn't want to give anybody a wedge issue to go back and say ESA sucks because somebody just bought a cappuccino machine. Oh, they go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and you could talk to some ESA people here in Yuma that apply for reimbursements, and all of these ESA, they don't cut you a check and send it to you. You spend the money on books, material, extracurricular activities like a school does. You know, schools do extracurricular activities, I mean, like sports and other things, but you put all that in receipts on what you spent, sent to ESA, you get reimbursed. And if somebody sends a receipt for ski passes that's not connected to education, they're going to get a no back, or a hot tub. I heard hot tub one time. Cappuccino machines were being bought. And if something does get out there, let's say that something is paid and it's wrong, they get the money back. We don't get that in the public schools, and we've heard all the problems down in Gadsden where thousands of dollars were spent on getaways for the board to go on different programs outside of the state at huge expense. I don't know what all was going on with them, but there's been theft and stuff going on in these public schools forever. We don't see that kind of theft and stuff in ESA. It's a lot more micromanaged, at least the bills are, from the state. The schools kind of run themselves. They get the money and they spend it themselves, and they found out later that they were cheating, stealing, or lying. And I'm not picking on public schools. I'm not. I'm just saying ESA compared to public schools is much cleaner than the public schools. But she says, and I think there's a lot of things that need to happen. We need to stop that luxury spending, what she calls luxury spending on the ESA. Oh, let's go through luxury spending. And I don't believe there's luxury spending going on. Whatever her definition of luxury spending and mine is are probably two different things. But, and she says eligibility requirements. There is eligibility requirements. There's a list of what's reimbursable, what's not reimbursable. You can get that list. And then they go in this article that like prior to 2022, Arizona ESA program was limited strictly to a very small group of people, and Ducey opened it up. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And she calls it an entitlement program. Well, okay, call it an entitlement program. And I'm going to call public schools an entitlement program. It's all the same. It's an entitlement program. If that's what you want to label it, then we'll play that game. That's fine. Public schools is an entitlement then. There is no other entitlement program that we know of that have any kind of eligibility requirements. And we need to make sure that every student across the state is having an opportunity for a good education. And that's not happening with the way the program's working right now. I don't know if you guys know any homeschoolers or some of these private schools or some of these that you could say are not getting an education. That is just an out-and-out lie. I don't know of any. I'm sure something could happen where some a terrible parent is doing something that not teaching the kids as well as they should, I guess. But I certainly don't know of any. And we have some wonderful ESA recipients here that take the time, and those kids are bright and doing tremendously well. And for her to say that's just kind of insulting. She also addressed barriers to increasing investment in public education. I think, and then we get into that. I think seeing the ESA program expand in the way is a direct attack on public education. Calls it an attack on public education. It's a direct competition to public education. And that means public education needs to stand up. It does. And it's hard for them. And don't get me wrong. With all the legislation that goes through, and the props and the stupid stuff that goes through that ties the hands of the superintendents. I mean, they spend a lot of time filling out paperwork instead of spending money in the classrooms, which is what everybody says they want. In fact, now there's a proposition to do that, just that. That says you must spend 60% in the classroom, which is, how are you going to enforce that? How are you going to do that when you also have laws that tell you have to spend a certain amount out in the front office doing runaround stuff? Well, or filling out forms. Well, she's going to continue to push it. She hates DSA, and they're just changing their tactics a little bit, but they're calling it a direct tax on public education. They took away that ESA is costing too much, because actually it's cheaper than public education. And so she says, well, now it's an attack on public education because it's cheaper. Well, that's better for the taxpayer, but it's only for those families that choose it. It's a choice. Most people are still choosing public education. And that's great. She says, I think that number one, and the legislature continues to put unfunded mandates on school. She's right. And I said that from the beginning, unfunded mandates. Things that you need to do, and it's got to come out of the school budgets. It doesn't come out of an additional budget. You got to come out of school budget. And I think legislature is trying to, well, they'll be better if we make them do this type stuff instead of trusting their superintendents to do the right thing. They want to micromanage it. And she says unfunded mandates on schools and just tell teachers how they can teach and make decisions at the state level that should be made at the local level. And that's a good argument to get rid of the cabinet position of teaching at the federal level. We should eliminate that. Carter brought it in. It should be eliminated because it shouldn't be at the federal level for sure. Make sure it goes right to the states should be running the state, and then the local level should be given more leeway to run more at the local level versus all the mandates that come out of Phoenix. But first we get the mandates come out of Washington, then the mandates out of Phoenix. By the time it gets down to the local level, they're just trying to wade through all the policies. And she finishes up. So we need to rein in the ESA. ESA is your savior right now as far as getting around the unnecessary bureaucracies, the unnecessary policies, and the legislature is trying to put unfunded mandates and all that. ESA literally has a budget of $7,500 to spend, and they spend it on the list of supplies, like books and things like that they're allowed to teach with, and that's it. And it's simple, it's straightforward, and I think it's working very well. It's not for everybody, but they're trying to kill it. They want everyone to end up in the public schools, and quite often the public schools dumb things down. They want all the kids to pass, so they make the classes easier to pass. So I think ESA is more creative. They throw more work on people. I think our government's been too much on education. Federal education department, the state education department, the local education department, and we just have a bunch of bureaucracy. And if you can believe that the proposition they put out says, well, we need to spend we need to spend at least 60% in the classroom. When I saw that, I said, why 60%? Why isn't 90%? Is our bureaucracy so much fun that we need that much bureaucracy that we need to spend 40% outside the classroom? Kind of crazy. It should be. So she thinks we need to rein in ESA, but also Prop 123, which expired last year. We had a chance to renew that, to send a renewal to the voters, but to put billions of dollars back in our classrooms without raising taxes. That's going to be a priority, but politics got in the way doing that job this year. I'm not sure about 123 exactly what she's talking about, and I don't know how it puts billions of dollars in the back classrooms without raising taxes. That doesn't sound realistic to me, but I don't know how she references that. She said a lot of this is just political distraction from the fact when I veto a bill, and here we get into the vetoes. because she's known as the veto queen. You know, she is absolutely number one in vetoes for any governor state of Arizona in the history of Arizona. It's usually because it's not focused on the real issues we're facing. Now, that's her determination and her decision to say it's not that. She says, I'm really proud of the fact that I've signed nearly 1,000 pieces of bipartisan legislation into law, far more than the number that I vetoed. So I'm, you know, and I talked to legislators a little bit about their frustration with how much she does veto. And there are going to be a lot of bipartisan legislation. Just a lot of legislation that goes through is just to correct little flaws in legislation that was passed last year, year before. You know, some old time that says, like, look, there's an unintended consequences. We just need it's a cleanup type thing. Some of that goes in there, and that's bipartisan generally, and it goes through. But it's maintenance more than anything, and that needs to happen. So yeah, that goes into the bills and all that. So some of that's gonna be bipartisan. She has signed into law, by the way, in her 4 years. Because we've had four. I mean, she's not completed 4 years yet, but the session's over. So she's been through 4 sessions. 993 bills is what she signed into law. That's 135 bills a year. She's vetoed 541 bills. Yep, 151 of them this year. 151. Well, to put that in perspective, well, first of all, let me tell you, she talks about bipartisan, and I found out because I started doing a little research on it, and found out why she separates bipartisan. Well, their team and her team, I guess, keeps a tally of some kind of bills that are bipartisan. That at least one Republican have signed on to is a bipartisan bill. And that's like mid 700 are bipartisan, and they're very proud that we're a bipartisan governor. We've signed 700 some bipartisan bills, and a lot of those bipartisan bills are just going to be maintenance bills. It's not going to be, anything that's going to do real change. Or she vetoed all the stuff that would strengthen voting. There were a lot of bills before her. A lot of bills came before her that would increase the integrity of voting, and which we've had real problems with in the state of Arizona. Arizona's had a lot of voting problems, enough to where the FBI is investigating some stuff right now. And of course, just getting numbers in late, not getting them in on time, and it's been real terrible in the state of Arizona. No question. But to put her vetoes in perspective, let's look at Doug Ducey. Doug Ducey was in office for 8 years. In 8 years, he vetoed 112 bills. That's 14 a year. He vetoed 14 a year. She's averaged 135 a year. So 10 times the number of bills are vetoed under her watch than under Governor Ducey. So she's acting more like a king, I guess. Like she's not going to listen to the majority of the House and the Senate. She's not going to listen to them. She knows better than everybody, which is kind of annoying. And I know it's been a frustration for some of the legislators that work hard on these bills to get them through to help bring integrity, like just to voting. Voting is just one issue. And if it hits her desk and it's not a Democrat-led type deal, she vetoes it. Yep. And then tries to keep track of what she says. I'm bipartisan because I've signed 700 that had at least one Republican name on it, which I think is a red herring. Doesn't mean anything. She's really noted for vetoing a lot of stuff that would make great changes, particularly in our voting, the holes in our voting system where we've got problems. And they refuse. They just refuse. It's been terrible. But I'll do some more work on the ESA stuff, on some of those propositions. I'll know by tomorrow on some of the propositions, on exactly what they stand for and what they do. And I'll make some phone calls today to legislatures and get some insights on some of that. Let's see. From one of my listeners, I don't see homeschooling teaching children learning higher math and other STEM subjects, really. And I'll get into that. Private schools, yes, but not homeschooling unless the parents have a science or math background. Did Tom Horn get voted out? Yes, he did. Wonder if homeschooling teaches creatism as science. What would be a concern? That would be a concern. You mean I think they do probably. Gilbert, good morning.
Hey, sorry, Russ, to call you, but I just want everybody to know here at Foothills Ironwood Drive, I just had a coyote in my backyard drinking out of my pond. So we have a coyote in the neighborhood. So get your dogs and chickens and beware.
Have we had problems with coyotes? I mean, have coyotes been a problem killing dogs and stuff?
I don't know of any. I don't know of any.
Yeah.
But this is the first time since I've lived here that I had a coyote in the daytime. We've heard second time? Caught us the second time.
Okay.
We have them at night jumping over the fence drinking water.
Wow.
But this is the first time I've seen it. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful coyote. But I was in the front listening to you. Carla opens the door and says, "Hey, where's the dogs at? Where's the dogs at?" I go, "Why?" She goes, "There's a coyote in the back and he's big." So I go back. I had my phone. I wanted to take a picture, but I was more worried about finding my dogs. But they were all inside.
Good. We don't want them hurt.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
No, so let everybody know there's a coyote on Ironwood Drive between 44th and the area. All right.
All right. Gilbert.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, sir. Bye-bye. And Mr. Gilbert gone in on that coyote. Yeah, he's had snakes. You know, he lives right backed up against the Barry Goldwater Range. So, you know, they have the joy of nature. Coyotes, snakes, owls, they get it all. And then I say joy, it really is. They do enjoy it. They like it. Let me see. The Visit Yuma office is announcing the next parade. It's the 24th annual Dorothy Young Memorial Electric Light Parade. It's always a hit. Always a hit. December 12th. It's going to take place Saturday, December 12th. Put it on your calendar. This year's patriotic theme, America 250, which is 250 years of history. Theme celebrates 250 years of the American pride, inviting parade participants to showcase American history, heritage, innovation, community spirit through dazzling, illuminated floats, vehicles, walking groups, and performances. Parade registration and sponsorship opportunities will officially open on September 1st. Businesses, organizations, schools, clubs, communities, groups, all encouraged to begin planning their illuminated entries now. Now, Chris and I planned one year, a few years ago, to be in the electric light parade. We bought the electric lights. We got all that stuff. And I got terribly sick. We all got sick, and we just couldn't do it. We couldn't participate, which was too bad. I still have the lights on my bicycle, though. But we couldn't do it. We had to pull out. We didn't do it. I think we should try it again, get behind it. The trick is to get it all set up and coordinated between now and September 12th. Don't wait till the last minute. Additional information regarding parade registration, sponsorship opportunities, volunteer opportunities, parade rules, event route will be released in the coming months. So pay attention to visityuma.com. And it's a lot of fun. It's one of the bigger attendance on that electric light. It's a big attendance. I think the Foothills does one now too. They have a light parade, electric light parade at the same time. See, Fauci, not a fan of Fauci. And I paid a lot of attention during COVID, obviously, like everybody in the country concerned, worried, not knowing exactly what's going to go on with COVID. And do I take the jab? Do I not? And I did not. I never did take it. I was required to, when I worked at El Dorado put out that we going to have to take the jab. And if we didn't, then there were certain rules that we had to follow. I mean, it was terrible rules. But I come in the morning and work by myself pretty much. I mean, I didn't worry about it. So I just didn't take it. We never discussed it again. I know a lot of people lost jobs because companies required it. If you didn't, you'd lose your job. And all those companies have been sued, and settlements have been paid for those kind of things. Have been sued. I know at the hospital, Dr. Joe, he was let go because he would not take the jab at all. That's why he works as a primary care physician now. He was an internalist or something. Yeah, and he had to leave the hospital. They said no shot. You can't work here. Unfortunately, for him, but I think it worked out. We got to know him now. We know him better. We probably wouldn't know him as well if he was still at the hospital. But Fauci was the center of that thing. Fauci was the center. I mean, he was the one that was in charge of the organizations probably that funded the I guess the lab in Wuhan, and he was the one he was the face of it that would be on television being interviewed by Rand Paul, the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and Rand Paul, who's also a physician, just got frustrated with Fauci, just swore that Fauci was lying to him and covering things up, and the two of them would get in heated debates. I don't know if you guys saw any of that, but that happened on a regular basis. Well, now that there's a Fauci diary out there, he kept a diary and he wrote down what was going on in his activities and things like that. It's out in the public now, and he lied. I mean, he just flat lied. I mean, the entries in the diary are totally different than what he testified to. He also became very close with the mainstream media, obviously for right reasons. He wanted to push propaganda instead of reality. And Fauci was the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, which was very powerful because he controlled a lot of money that went out to doctors and research stuff. So he had influence. Back on March 15, 2020, he put an entry in his diary that today begins with a big day written in red letters. He said, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly and my conversation tonight, to close the New York City schools. He'd already decided that based on what I was saying on TV. That was in Fauci's note to his diary. And then he writes another entry. He says, I made a similar call with Ann O'Leary, the chief of staff of Governor Gavin Newsom of California, and said that based on my TV appearances yesterday and today, the governor has decided to close the schools in California as well as the bars and the restaurants. Which is all interesting. You know, Fauci's influential. We know that. And we know that he was influential in policy and putting things forward. And so it's not a surprise at all. Except that just 7 months later, and that was in October of 22, he was being interviewed on ABC News by Jonathan Karl. And they asked him, Jonathan asked him about his involvement in inspiring the lockdowns. Fauci said, let's go back and look at the transcripts. We should try as best as we possibly can to keep the children in school. Nobody plays that clip. That's always come back and say Fauci was responsible for shutting schools down. I had nothing to do with it. 7 months later, after in his own diary, he puts down how he is convincing people to shut down schools. I mean, convincing governors to shut down schools. Not only what he says on TV, but calling them directly. And then lying to, is it a lie to Jonathan Karl? Says, well, it is. He points out a transcript, but at one time he said he had a transcript where he said the best we can, as we possibly can to keep people in school. Yeah, he said that at the same time he's calling people and telling them to shut down schools. In 22, he told The Hill that he didn't recommend locking anything down. And he told The Hill that he didn't recommend it. That's what he's telling people in 22. Where in 2020, he was telling them, lock it down. Well, in January 9th of 24, after it all, of course, but then he's testifying. He's testifying. He's going before the House Oversight Committee. And of course, he's under oath and all that kind of stuff. Can't perjure himself. He's supposed to be telling the truth. He says, I did not close the schools. It became the widespread situation where I became a political target, which we know he's lying. He advocated closing the schools. He called governors to close the schools. And now we know it from his own writings. Fauci, once the nation's leading infectious disease expert, said he directed de Blasio to choose to close the city bars. He said, I went to tell him he should close the bars and restaurants in New York City. He said he would, based on my recommendation. He said that in 2020. He put it in his diary. Also had phone calls with Mayor de Blasio, who wants to go shelter in place for the entire city. He is asking my advice since Governor Cuomo is pushing back. I advised de Blasio to go ahead and do it. I will try to speak to Cuomo. And then in 2020, he said he writes an entry about meeting with Donald Trump. He described him as incorrigible. I don't think he liked Trump. I don't think Trump liked Fauci. The goal of the meeting was to get to the president to extend lockdowns after the initial 15 days to stop the spread, period, and began March 16, 2020, about a month after the first case of COVID was recorded in the United States. Kept going. Let me take a call from George. Good morning, George.
The goal of the meeting was to get to the president to extend lockdowns. Hello? After the initial 15 days.
Turn off your radio.
Hello?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
You on the air?
I am. So are you, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. Just watching you talk about Fauci.
Yeah.
And so,
A friend of yours?
no. I mean, if anybody was evil, and I still can't believe that they gave him a carte blanche. The idea of a pardon for anything he might be.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But Biden did. Biden gave him the pardon for anything and everything that he did or possibly could have done or be accused of. Yeah, I know all that.
Right, which is, that there is no such thing. You can't do that. But, I mean, there's a wide range for pardons or whatever, but we don't normally give out a carte blanche. And so this is just really kind of an interesting thing. As I was one of the things that is a big deal for me out of this was in 86 through 89, I lived in San Francisco. And because my blood is kind of a blood that you need on a regular basis, and my blood type. One of the things is my roommate had, who was a resident at San Francisco General, had a thing on it to where, when I could give again. And because of the fact that I would faint pretty much when all of a sudden you saw that big old needle that they pull out.
Oh, yeah.
The old one, when they used to, the thing was like, huge. Anyway, but one of the things is that, he'd always get a really cute nurse to hold my hand, when they did that. But one of the things was my roommate was from when this was at the height of the AIDS crisis, and in San Francisco, New York, the major cities, that they were really having to fight this. One of the biggest problems was there was no treatment at all. And but Fauci was sitting on top of all the money that went to treatment. And unless you used AZT, which is a failed cancer drug from Burroughs Wellcome, he wouldn't give you money. And finally, the guys would actually say that they were putting it into the cocktail, but they weren't, because the AZT was actually killing more people than it was helping. And but that was Fauci, because he was getting money from Roosevelt for every single thing that goes through. Same kind of thing. He was, he had got royalties on a number of different things in COVID, which is kind of interesting because of the fact that he's the one who started the gain of research thing on this with
the gain of function,
gain of function research,
he was paid for it.
and then he also made money on the back end of it. So since his main deal was he was in charge of the checkbook,
right,
for all of this stuff, and that's the real corruption. And I mean, every single thing that's going to come out, that this book and the diary, and now that the truth's coming out, because of the fact that, I mean, they scrubbed all that stuff from the AIDS days. One of the biggest things was he set up camp basically to interview almost everybody in the bathhouses in San Francisco. Well, why would you hang out in a bathhouse in San Francisco? Have them come into your office. I mean, this guy's weird.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he came into the COVID thing, I realized that there was something going on because of the fact that he's crook. And he's always been a crook, and he always will be a crook. And the fact that we haven't had a Nuremberg trial about the whole COVID thing is just amazing. Everybody that we now know that you shouldn't have been put on the ventilators, but the hospitals were paid to put you on the ventilators.
Right.
They were paid if you died. You were paid if you got a test. You got paid. The hospital got paid if you tested positive.
You didn't have to test positive. You didn't have to. You just had you could list it as positive without testing because it's too dangerous to test. So if they have any symptoms, they had COVID. I mean, there were people dying in car accidents that were listed as dying of COVID.
Annie Glenn, John Glenn's widow. Yeah. She died, they said she died of COVID. She died because she was 100 years old, and she had a bet with John that she'd live to be 100 years old. So, I mean, it was just, and they got paid if they could list it as a COVID death. A number of families, everybody I know in the mortuary industry said that was a big thing, was families didn't want that on there. And it just, but they said, well, no, we get paid if we do, we have that for the statistics. And all the statistics, as we're now seeing from, the trans thing and this and climate change, basically people are playing fast and loose with data and going through this whole thing. Our fact checker would probably be the one who would know best about all of these kind of things, because of the fact that, I mean, nobody knows graphs and data research like him. And so, but I mean, seriously, this and it wasn't just, you got to remember the Nuremberg trials. There was two things. One, they went after the people, the Goring and all those, and Goebbels and all the people. But the second thing that they went after was the press that propped it up. And so somebody like, what's his name from CNN?
Tapper, Jake Tapper?
The white-haired guy.
Wolf.
Vanderbilt's daughter, or son.
Wolf?
No, not Wolf.
He's got white hair.
Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, he never ever mentioned the fact that he was getting $22 million a year or more from Pfizer directly. They were just paying him. Yesterday, if you didn't see this, somebody over in Steve Bannon's war room, I had lunch with Neil McCabe yesterday, and because he works with those guys. And one of the things is that she had the whole list of everybody that's being paid off by the CCP, the Chinese, including, and then what I loved about the article that she wrote, and it was also on X, but she not only named the people that had gone to China or were on payroll, but also the people that got what they did for it. The immediate articles that were written or the immediate shows that were done. For the Chinese, and so she could say, "This is when they got paid, and this is what they wrote." And so cause and effect, and it was just the biggest thing that I think about when I think about COVID was the idea of all these commercials you see on TV. There's no way that somebody's going to buy a lot of the drugs that you're seeing on TV. Or it'd be such a small group that would go through it. But it reminds me of the scene in Mad Men where they were going to go after Lucky cigarettes because the unfiltered ones, and they were going to do a hit piece. And the guys from Brown and Williamson looked up and go, "What network?" And they said NBC or whatever. And he said, he goes, "No, we're 80% of their ad budget. There's no way that'll hit the airwaves." And that's basically what Pfizer's doing. All these companies are doing, and what Kennedy's trying to stop is they're buying influence to where nobody will ever ask a question because of the fact that that's their money.
Right.
They need that money to keep on the air. And if you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. Anyway, it's something else. Hey, I just wanted to say we're going to have a interesting guest on Friday. And also, I was just out. I had to go to the bank, and I just ran into John Gizzi, and he asked to come on. So we should have him on sometime next week.
Oh, good.
Anyway, everybody have a great week. And I just thought I'd sneak in and say hi.
Thank you, buddy. Take care, man. Bye-bye. That was George Braun, Washington Bureau Chief out of Washington. Came back to Fauci. And now with the diary being available and out there, one of the questions, and I'll get on with some more statistics and stuff that he's put out there. One of the questions I had was like, who the heck got his diary? How do we have his diary? He wrote this stuff. He knows he testified under oath, the opposite of what's written in his diary. Well, how would that get in the hands? Did somebody grab that and steal it or something? No. I had to go look that up. Rand Paul is the one that is targeting Fauci because he knows he's lying and he's asked for stuff. But through subpoenas and documents request tied to all the hearings and everything, he as he was probing the origins of COVID-19, they sent him Fauci. They said, "We need all your communications, all your records and stuff," and he turned it over, which is a gold mine of information, of reality, not what he said publicly, not what he said under oath, but what he wrote in his diary. And then Rand Paul sat down with that diary and came out with a 1,000-page document that he put together, 1,000-page document he put together, called Tony's Diary. He put it out yesterday. Just label it, "This is Tony's Diary," and he published it yesterday. So we're going to probably get a lot of reports about what's in Tony's diary. Now, this is leading up to Anthony Fauci having to come back before Rand Paul, which he's done many times, and lied to him. And now Fauci knows. He knows that they've turned all this stuff over to Rand Paul. Rand Paul's got the true story now. I'd be curious what that hearing's going to look like. Well, it's going to be a different kind of hearing, I would assume. So be interesting. Fauci's 85 years old, by the way. He's not a young man, but he looks good. It looks like he's taking care of himself, like he's doing well. But getting back to his diary a little bit, He was right in the goal of the meeting, and he had a meeting here in 2020, a tense meeting with Donald Trump, and he started talking about that. He wanted to get the president to extend lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. And he writes, at the end of the day, it was a good outcome since we convinced him to go with 30-day instead of ending the mitigation prematurely, which I would feel be a disaster. And then in November that same year, 2020, he recalled lending support to Los Angeles County health official who wanted to lock the county down. He wrote, got a call last night from Mark Galey, Director Deputy of the Community Health for LA County Department of Health Services. He's called me several times for advice. Frantic call saying that they are surging in LA County and very soon hospital beds will be overrun. He wants to do a 3-week shutdown of the city, stop the surge, and wants my support since there is a large pushback to locking down. I agreed to support him. And then he joined the Hills Rising podcast in 22. Fauci denied responsibility for lockdowns again. Shortly after that, just a couple of years after that, denied any responsibility for lockdowns. He says, well, again, first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking me questions. You're talking about the CDC is the public health agency that uses their epidemiologist and their science-based approach to make recommendations. And let me see, on October 2020, he said when it became clear that we had community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was major explosion like we saw in the northeastern corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area. I recommended to the president that we shut down the country. Of course he did. Rand Paul knows he did, and he's been frustrated by being lied to. We'll see where that goes. Also in the diary, he had a lot of, he writes down a lot of his connections with the media, which George just touched on, the media. And in the media, he really liked that he was very close to Jake Tapper. In fact, he mentioned Jake Tapper 41 times in his diary. And some texts and stuff that went back and forth with Tapper. And according to the diary, Tapper texts Fauci to mock rival cable news hosts and other doctors, I guess, that weren't believing in Fauci's nonsense. Tapper called to check on Fauci after an appearance on his show irked Trump supporters. Fauci said, Jake just wanted to make sure the interview did not cause me any problems. And then I guess he really liked his friendship with Tapper. He says, so he writes things in there like had dinner over Jake Tapper and Jen Tapper's home. Terrific couple, friendship building. And Tapper woke me up at 11:23 a.m. I went to bed early, furious at POTUS for tweeting about the fact that Jake severely questioned Brent Gerard on the show today. Jake was really pissed at the craziness of it all. Again, more text about Dana Bash and Tapper. So he was really in with the media, which shows because the media supported Fauci completely. Anything he said, he was like a national hero, national treasure. He was on like every day on something, every day almost on television. He would, many times over the weekends and stuff, you'd see him on multiple stations, multiple shows, spreading his lies. And now he's saying he didn't do it. Yeah. And of course, these I don't have any personal contact with Fauci. This is actually stories that are released because of the diary being released by Rand Paul. Rand Paul is the one that put all this information out there. I'll be curious to see where it goes, and because Fauci, as we know, has been pardoned by Biden, and presidential pardons should make him untouchable. We'll see. We'll see where that all goes. I'll be very curious. I'll be following that one. I was very consumed by the COVID during the time, and why we couldn't get a lot out of it. We couldn't get a lot out of CDC at the time. We couldn't get a lot of information. So now that the information's coming forward, it's of interest. It's very much of interest. The here's a video. I can't show you the video because I don't have it keyed or anything. There's no way to show you the video. But this one caught my attention. It's this 26-year-old Missouri man that did not want to be pulled over by police, and he did something I wouldn't do. I mean, to get away. He first attempted to outrun the police. You can't outrun the radio, is the old saying. You can't outrun the radio. You may maybe get away from an individual car, but you can't outrun the radio. And so he saw himself maybe not winning that outrunning. So he stopped his car on a 2-lane bridge that was over a river or of some kind. And he jumped out of the car and dove headfirst off the side of the bridge. I mean, did not look down or anything. He just dove out of the car head first, which, unless he did that regularly, how would he know how deep the water is or how far down the water is or anything? It was nighttime. He didn't look. He got out of that car, just ran and dove in. And maybe he's from the area and he knew the water was deep enough because it did not kill him. According to the sheriff's office, that he was definitely a first, and luckily he survived the fall. He resisted arrest, and deputies suffered minor injuries, taking him into custody. So I guess I don't think the deputies jumped off the bridge. I think they just walked down, because eventually he had to swim to shore, didn't he? He couldn't stay out in the water. They walked down, and he fought them. Apparently, resisted arrest, according to the sheriff. He was arrested as charged with 3 counts of third-degree assault on a special victim, resisting arrest for a felony, resisting arrest by fleeing and careless driving, and deputies attempted to stop him around 1:50 a.m., probable cause type thing. He was driving a 2004 Malibu at 75 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. I guess that's a good reason to pull you over. He led them on quite the pursuit. See, this was in Missouri. 3 deputies were injured while taking him into custody. Authorities said he head-butted 2 deputies during the struggle. Bruising, cuts to the hand, elbow, and I saw his mugshot. He was still like laughing at it. You know, he obviously had some contusions to the face, and he was smiling. While he's being like, I don't think it's a small offense. I think he's in real trouble here. The Stone County Sheriff's Office in Missouri. But if you get a chance to see that video, it's just kind of striking. That absolutely head first, no look, jumping off a bridge. Gutsy. It doesn't say he was drunk or anything. I don't think it does. It doesn't say he was charged with any intoxication. I question that. You know, you would think you would have to be out of your mind somehow to do the things he just did, but it doesn't give any indication there was any kind of substance abuse or any kind of alcohol involved. He just jumped off a bridge head first, like he was going off the high dive without looking. Just a run and a leap. It was just unbelievable that he survived it. Unbelievable. Wish him well. We'll see where this goes. The Graham Plattner. There's, as you know, Graham Plattner's out of it now. Graham Plattner is withdrawn from the race of Senate in the state of Maine. And I just read an article about some of the Democrat policies or the Democrat attempt to chase candidates. That these candidates are actually, I guess they go out looking for them. This isn't necessarily people that came forward and said, "I want to run for senator." These are people that get noticed in the community or something, and they get recommendations of running, and that's apparently what happened with Graham. In that he was noticed by some other Democrat that was in the state of Maine that recommended him and put him forward as a guy that could be a good candidate, an oyster farmer. He's got a deep voice and they're looking for masculinity, and he had a hostility towards political establishment. So they thought, well, this is good. Even though some of the stuff came out up front that he was a racist, sexist, homophobic online post, I thought they could get through that. And then the Nazi symbol of a tattoo that he just covered up, which he did. He didn't remove it. He had, I guess, covered it, made sure he wore a shirt or something. And they all got behind him, and then of course they're all in on that, and it didn't slow down because a woman came forward and said, he was raped. He denied it. And the political support collapsed after that. And there was a woman before that came forward, but they found out she was a Republican, so she didn't count. Like she must have been obviously lying or something. This article is just kind of a public opinion piece a little bit. It's like Democrats got to be asking themselves many questions like, well, who's going to replace him and stuff, and how do we pick our people and those kind of things. And I think they should be asking themselves, like, I don't even know how they picked Kamala Harris. Now, Kamala Harris was handpicked to defeat Donald Trump, and Biden was forced out. I think forced out is how they're putting it. Amanda Lippman, a co-founder of Run for Something, which recruits young progressive candidates to run for office. I mean, they have an active recruitment of going out there to find that. She says women do not get to make mistakes. People of color do not get to make mistakes. So she wrote that white men get to fail. I don't think that's true. Of course, my perspective is going to be different than Amanda, I assume. Unfortunately, I think races do get different treatment at times, or women get different treatment. I guess they do. I can't help but think, but I don't think white men have an advantage. No, not when you see some of the things that's ignored on some of the people of color and stuff that get away with. Marion Barry failed quite a few times as the governor of the mayor of Washington, D.C. He went to jail even, peddling dope to undercover agents, and he was reelected. I think he got to fail a lot. He wasn't a white man, but that's the victimization of Amanda Lippman putting out there. The white men get to fail. So they think Plattner was a political equivalent of the Friar Fest or Adam Newman, a high-profile men who continue to receive support for new ventures after spectacular failure. It's like their inherent trust and faith and capabilities that they don't have to prove. I don't see it. I'd like to see more, more examples of that kind of stuff. But Lippman's organization asked candidates to disclose what a background check might turn up and what the opposition will find. Now, that's what she does for a living. She goes out to recruit people. And she goes through a vetting process. Women and people of color are more likely to self-censor or decide they would rather not run at all. The thing that I keep coming back to is who has permission to be authentic. According to Chris Rabb, who won a closely watched Democratic primary in Pennsylvania, said folks who have been identified as hardscrabble, populist, left of center, white guys get far more leeway than folks like me, black progressives. I don't know. I don't think it's true. You tell me. Despite a record of corruptible behavior, Plattner continued to rise, and that's the crux of it. Is these people are looking at Plattner? Why did he get away with so much stuff? And they stuck with him until the rape thing came up. Well, I think it's a matter of just triaging. They're looking at Maine and Susan Collins, and they want that seat, and Plattner seemed to be the only one, so I think they overlooked it. I don't think it had to do with race. I think it had to do with situation. Myself, I don't think it would have changed anything if he was any other color or any other, religion or anything else. I don't think so. I think they were just hoping against hope that we found a solution in Maine. Susan Collins, because Susan Collins has been elected there 3 times. Rabb said, if I had some problematic tattoo that related to white folk, I don't think I would be viable even in a majority black district because I think the money would not be there to run the campaign I needed. Again, I'm not engaged in the system like they are, but I don't see it. Annie Andrews, Democratic Senate nominee of South Carolina, wrote, I'm just a girl running for the U.S. Senate with a medical degree, a record of service, and a non-problematic past. Andrews, and she's a long shot in a Republican stronghold, and I'm sure she's complaining that there's not enough money to do that. Michelle White, executive director of Emily's List, she said, time after time, we have to watch strong women candidates get dismissed and treated like a backup plan, while some disastrous men take up all the oxygen and ultimately make it harder to win the seat. We need to take back our country. We need to take it back from who? From men? And we have a lot of strong women in the Senate and the House that, and I think AOC fails on a daily basis, and it's just ignored. She's made a lot of bonehead decisions. I don't see anyone going after her. I think these people have an issue. They think they're victims, but I don't think they're looking at the whole picture. Democratic nominee for State House is Sarah McGee divulged that she called her deepest, darkest secrets, among them a drunk driving offense, when she was a teenager, divorced from a violent partner, and an old debt that ended up in court when I was a single mom and couldn't pay. I was legitimately worried about these things, tanking my chances of representing my community. Expressing disbelief that some Democrats were willing to accept the disqualifying character of our own candidates because MAGA did it worse. I don't see it myself. I don't think there's any perfect candidate out there. I think everyone has something in their past or whatever that comes forward that it's up to the populace, whether they look at that and say it's okay. I'm trying to think of somebody that doesn't have anything, any blemish in their record. Maybe Nick Cooper, our representative out in the foothills. He probably has no blemishes. I mean, he comes across like that. I think everybody else has got something in there that they've tripped over something at some point in their life. But this makes it sound like it's the only white guys get away with that. I think everybody has something. I doubt that everybody's perfect. I think this obsession with race and sex and all that versus policy and who we are is just disheartening. It is disheartening that there's so much focus on that stuff. Judge is limiting the BBC from relitigating a January 6 in Trump lawsuit. Now, the BBC has made their own mistakes on handling Donald Trump. They ran some special titled "Trump a Second Chance?" ? Trump a Second Chance, and it showed a lot of, and they're critics of Donald Trump. The BBC is kind of like our press, and so they put these things together, all the videotapes and the speeches and all that of Trump in the special, and made Trump look like he started the riot on J6. And they put that all out there in some video. Unfortunately for them, they cut the video up and made and put things in Trump's mouth. I mean, actually words he said, but rearranged it to where it sounded like he says we need to go fight like hell. Yeah. Well, the critics have said that it was misleading. That they noticed they omitted Trump's call for supporters to protest peacefully at the Capitol, and that's exactly what he said: march to the Capitol peacefully. They took that all out. They cut it out. The documentary stitched together different remarks, and they were about an hour apart. These remarks during this address, and Trump loves to speak to crowds, and he'll do that for hours. He made it appear as though his supporters it appeared as if he told his supporters to fight like hell down at the Capitol, which isn't what he said. The comments were actually out of context. Shortly before the Capitol riot that day, all the impressions that were received by Donald Trump's statements on J6 are at issue. The full relitigation of the J6 is not an issue, and this is coming from the judge. The judge is saying we're not going to relitigate J6. Judge Lett, and that's what BBC wants to do. They want to, open up J6, and they're asking for information about J6 and stuff. They want to probe the J6 speech and all that stuff. But Trump's team said it's a fishing expedition. I mean, they don't need to. What Trump said is out there, and they did this documentary, and they really twisted things around. They put words where Trump didn't say them, which was obvious that he did it. Trump's legal team says it's important because the case is about very limited splicing that consisted of 9 seconds of a more than 50-minute speech. And rather than focus on that, the BBC is trying to distract the judge, ultimately the juries in this case, from the very limited scenario on what they're trying to do is expand the scope of this case to litigate January 6th, simply to take the attention off of them and their own wrongful conduct. And so when the judge made the determination that was not going to happen, that eliminated the primary defense that the BBC was seeking to employ in his case, which was to create a distraction, to make this case into something that was going to be unmanageable and unnecessary, which is we're going to try the whole J6 case here. The BBC has no legal standing of any basis to bring such defense. And here's what he's suing them for. Trump filed lawsuits against the BBC in December in a personal capacity for both defamation and the violation of Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. $5 billion for each one. That's $10 billion total. He's suing BBC for $10 billion. Alejandro Brito is Trump's attorney. What matters is what he said relative to what the broadcast that he said. That is, there's nothing more that needs to be examined. Just that one thing. There was a written apology from the chairman, Samir Shah, to Trump last year, which Shah admitted that the documentary gave the mistaken impression that Trump had made a direct call for violent action. So he acknowledged it. He acknowledged they falsified it. Sasha Dunning, the attorney for the BBC, noted that Sasha had deemed the misleading edit as unintentional and argued that the intent behind Trump's speech is fair game for the outlet's attorney to investigate. I don't think they'll get to. In fact, the judge says, no, you're not going to. He ruled that the BBC can delve into the interpretation of Trump's speech by his supporters. The trial will not re-examine the case or legality of the actual riot. The judge also said the BBC overstepped in some instances regarding requests to examine the findings of several investigations into J6. And the issue surrounding the documentary editing integrity comes after a report from the Telegraph revealed excerpts from a whistleblower dossier compiled by Michael Prescott, communications advisor hired by the BBC to review its editorial standards. The whistleblower alleged the network's documentary spliced two separate comments made by Trump nearly an hour apart on the day of the Capitol riot, which erroneously implied that the president was calling for violence from his supporters. How can they do that, not think that that will get noticed? How can they do that, not think that's going to get them in trouble? But they apparently did. Apparently did. Let's see Mike. Hey, Mike, how are you, sir?
Hey, it's the Mike. Listen, when are you going to stop perpetuating the Democrat narrative?
Never. Well, how am I perpetuating it? In what way?
What's the correlation between progressivism and gain of function?
Well, I don't know. There is a correlation between them. But
They're code words. They're code words to candy over the Democrat narrative, which is bad. The Democrat narrative is always bad.
Yeah.
Progressivism is communism. And the Democrats chose the word progressivism because they didn't want to use the word communism. They have always been communists, always.
Yeah, I think there's a case to be made for that. I don't disagree with all that.
That is the case. They are they are communists, and they are chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. They've had no opposition to where they are today. The threat to the country inside this country is communism.
Right.
And, Hillary Clinton, during Clinton, the first term, was already saying she was a progressive and proud of it.
Of course.
You had Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying she was a progressive, touting Mao overseas and condemning the Constitution.
I didn't know that. But yeah. Okay.
Of course you didn't know. You forget because all Republicans have such a short memory.
Okay.
Now, progressivism started with Wilson.
Yes, I did know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the progressivism, they chose the word progressivism because they didn't want to use communism. America loved Mussolini. Hollywood wrote songs about how great of a stud he was.
Mussolini, really? Okay.
Oh, I can't think of the name of the song. Actually, has the verse in it that praised Mussolini. There's the narrative. Stop. We need to start campaigning on communism. You don't have to campaign against the person's face, Katie Hobbs or AOC.
Mm-hmm.
You campaign totally on communism. And we should have commercials now. Use that money that the Republican Party claims to have a lot of, that they're only going to use on their rhino candidates. Use that money to have commercials like LBJ had against Goldwater, with that little girl picking petals off the flower, counting down a nuclear bomb.
Daisy, yeah.
That should be every day now. Starting right now, we only have 95 days left. I haven't heard a single Republican commercial against the Democrat Party.
Okay.
What are they waiting for?
I don't think anybody's waiting for anything. I think they're doing what they think is right.
Well, here's one thing. Like when the Democrats say something, do the opposite. When the Republicans say they're doing it what they think is right, do the opposite, because you've been wrong all the time. If you would have attacked the 7th district, that man would have been unseated. Gutierrez would have won. If you had attacked communism in New York City, he would have Mondavi would have lost.
Well,
you didn't have to attack. All they were talking about was Mondavi. What he was. No. Now attack communism. Stop.
Okay, explain to me how I attack communism. If I want to attack communism, why did I just say every day?
You don't know how to attack communism. See, that's the problem.
Okay, then that's the problem.
Train me. Didn't you live through the Cold War?
Of course. So train me. How do I attack communism?
And you don't know how to attack communism?
I just said that. So,
Wait a second. And I'm not done yet. I'll get back to you on that. My God, it's the easiest thing in the world.
well, it is.
Somebody in your audience call in and refute me that you don't know how to attack communism.
I don't know how to attack communism. How do I attack
Okay.
communism?
So the next narrative that
Yeah.
you keep perpetuating
Yeah.
is gain of function.
Yeah. What about it?
Do you know what gain of function means?
Yes.
What?
What they're actually changing the disease
It's
or
called
whatever.
weaponizing.
Yeah.
It was called weaponizing before it was gain of function.
Well,
And the Democrats chose that term gain of function because they couldn't use the word weaponizing because it pushes the question, why would you weaponize something? Why would you weaponize COVID-18 to make COVID-19?
gain of
That's something
function
that
can be used to weaponize, yes, but it
gain
also,
of function is weaponizing.
well, the things I read would disagree with you.
Well, what you gotta question the things you're reading. Who's
No.
the author? The
Oh,
Democrats?
it can absolutely be used to weaponize. It can be, but what they claim to be doing was
In the
to
terms of
these diseases manipulate over time, so they try to get a hit of it, which I don't know how they do that.
no.
And through gain of
That was
function,
the ploy.
they change it.
That was the ploy of COVID-19. Why was there a COVID-17? Why was there a COVID-10? Why was there a COVID-2? Because COVID is the common cold,
It
a
manipulates.
robust virus
Yeah.
that keeps on. You can't kill it, and so it keeps manipulating. That's why they chose it.
The coronavirus is the common cold, absolutely, and it was just a new variant all of
I'm
a sudden.
telling you it
Yeah,
is, yes.
exactly.
And it's a
It was
robust virus. That's why
Right.
you can't have a vaccine against it. Did I say you can't have a vaccine against it? So how can you have a vaccine against COVID-19?
It was actually not really a vaccine as we traditionally know them. They called it that.
We just learned they crucified all of the medical professionals who talked against it. We just learned that.
We knew it all along. It was gene therapy
I
technology.
don't think.
We did.
Did you take the jab? Did you take the jab?
Heck no.
So the question first of all, Fauci should be in chains
I think
as he's sitting on these committees.
I agree.
What? And he needs to. We need to charge him for all this poopash, the same stuff as before.
Well,
He's a murderer.
Well, I
He
don't.
murdered.
Okay, you can say that if you want. I can't agree with it, but look, I think everything he did, he should be held accountable for. But the problem is, right now, how do you get around the pardon, the overall pardon? I don't know.
How do you get around what?
What the pardon? Biden pardoned him for everything he did.
The whole Biden. If the Republicans had any balls,
Yeah.
the whole Biden 4 years is an asterisk.
Well, Trump is trying to do something with that on the auto pins, and he's brought up that it shouldn't be enforceable. But I don't know that the Supreme Court or anything's taken anything on that. But
Then what the hell is Fauci doing and sitting in committee right now?
I don't think he's.
What's the sense? What's the sense of wasting our time?
Well, here's the sense of wasting the time. I think the truth needs to get out there, and I think that's fine. I think the truth does need to get out there, and it's up to Rand Paul. And Rand Paul's been the one that's been pushing all this.
The truth got out the last time he sat before Congress.
I think it's
breathing
blurred
air.
because there's two truths out there. I mean, Fauci made testimony, and Rand Paul says you're not being truthful.
So number one, call the Democrat Party what they are, communist. Number two, stop saying gain of function.
And why does gain of function is a scientific thing, but why it's not a communist or a non-communist thing? But why would I say communist on every issue? I mean, I like talking about the issues and the things that are going on.
There are no issues with the Democrat Party. They're pushing a communist agenda.
You and I are going to differ on that. I mean, I can't just say communist. I got to talk about exactly what's going on, what the bills are, how it's going to change your lives.
They want to get rid of the police. They want to get rid of the Senate.
Yes,
they want to get rid of prisons.
Yes.
They want, right there, hit it.
I do. I say those things on a regular. I mean, that's the manifesto from the Democratic.
You do it. I mean, you hit it hard with unction.
Okay.
The Democrat Party is a communist party, and we need to defeat the communists in this next upcoming election.
All right.
The other thing too is stop listening to Victor Hansen.
I'm not going to stop. I like him. I think he makes sense.
He is a good historian,
Yeah.
an excellent historian,
Yeah.
but a futurist, he's a moron. He's 0 for 3. And the same thing with Glenn Beck.
Wait a minute. What is Victor 0 for 3 on? 0 for 3 on what?
Well, first of all, he's wrong on what he's talking about today. He was wrong on Venezuela, and he was wrong on the tariffs.
I didn't know he made a comment about Venezuela.
Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't.
Right.
You Republicans.
Well, enlighten me.
He thought that what Trump was doing in Venezuela was wrong. I don't know the exact freaking words he said,
Okay.
but he was against Trump and what he in the militarization of Venezuela.
Okay.
He's again, and the same thing now he was against Trump with the first bombings, the successful bombings of that nuclear factory. And so these two morons sit there and they try to second guess what Trump should do. If somebody is saying what Trump should do, turn them off.
Okay.
Okay,
I can't. I'm not going to. I'm going to listen to all of it. I'm going to listen to everything.
We don't have any idea what Trump's inner circle is thinking. You want to know what Trump is doing? Listen to Marco Rubio. Listen to J.D. Vance. And listen to Hegseth and General Payne.
I'm going to listen to those guys too, of course. I think Marco Rubio has been brilliant.
These morons sell books. They try all that Victor Hansen is doing right now. He's got his tail between his butt because he was wrong on the last two things, and he's trying to make himself relevant. And the whole life of Glenn Beck is to try to make himself relevant. He talks to Trump every day.
I find Beck interesting.
He talks to Trump every day.
I didn't know that.
Trump can't even have a day without talking to Glenn Beck. Bullshit.
Okay.
So right. So there's the thing. You look up do some homework. Look up what the virtues of communism and start talking about the virtues of communism. We have less than 100 days. And that's how we need to attack and campaign against the
I don't think I'm going to satisfy you on that I'm going to be strong enough for you no matter what. But of course, I'm going to talk about what I see.
You obviously don't believe how detrimental communism in this country is to your granddaughter.
You'd be wrong.
If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what else to say.
You'd be wrong. Of course, I understand.
So that's how we win against Democrats right now.
If I came out as hard, I don't think I'd be successful being as hard nosed as what you're demonstrating. I don't think people will turn you off. I mean, you still have to talk in sense of reality and what people do know. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about what's going on and where it's leading. But I can't just come out and give a lecture on the evils of communism every 5 minutes.
Oh my God! Really?
I really can't.
You're afraid to do that?
No, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't think people want to listen to that hostility like that constantly, or being lectured to constantly.
The way I do. People listen to you. You could say the Michael Russ version of me nicely.
Well,
put some flowers on it, but it's still there. It's still a snake in the grass.
I think I've done a good job with the Democrat socialists that they are communists. I don't
really.
Well, okay.
I really don't think you have.
I think that's subjective, but okay. But I think it's a fear for sure. It is a fear,
and I think we're too soft on this right now, and it needs to be. We need to have 2x4s, not 2x4s, 2x6s.
Yeah.
Because this is it's growing every year. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
I don't disagree with that.
Did you have a chance to listen to the House committee hearing on what's that museum? God dang it, I can't think of the name.
Smithsonian.
Smithsonian? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Did you listen to that?
Some of it, yeah. And I read some comments from Trump, and some, he did an executive
You,
order on that. Yeah.
you have to listen to it. You
Yeah.
have to listen to these morons that call themselves Democrats.
Wow.
How the hell did they get into that
Well,
chamber, the House of the people?
and they are, and they rewrote some history to speak to some of the groups that were left out or something. I mean, it was just ridiculous that they want to reinterpret our history. You can't reinterpret history, but that's what they're doing. And Trump
Have
was
you
right to jump on that. Yeah,
have you ever been to the Smithsonian?
many times.
I mean, that is an amazing place.
Well, which is your
I think
favorite?
the whole thing, sir. I mean, and of course,
I
the thing that was my favorite was the space program.
Me too. Space Museum
When
and all that, and
yeah,
just amazing. I could go in there every day and look around.
light, all that, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And the idea, nobody really, until you see it and touch it,
Hmm.
how small that Mercury capsule was.
It's really small. And one of my favorite in the Air and Space Museum was actually the plane that was built by Howard Hughes that had no visible rivets. It broke land speed records. And it's just it's an artwork piece, and it's in a room all by itself. And when I went to Reno Air Races, there was a gentleman that went into the Smithsonian and measured it, every square inch of that, and made an exact reproduction and a replica of that plane. And one morning at the Reno Air Races, he was going to start at 6 o'clock in the morning or something, and work to beat Hughes' record on that speed record with the same airplane. And I was one of the few that came out that early, and then that morning, and I knew the guy, and I went out there and watched it. It was just amazing sound, amazing airplane, and he beat the record.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing is not even the right word
yeah.
to use.
Well,
But
but
what
he
is the
died in that
Smithsonian?
airplane like the next year, going to the races, going to another show. Unfortunately,
But
that plane is no longer with us. But
the Smithsonian is just another institution
yeah,
that the communist Democrats
yeah.
want to destroy. They have the communist Democrats have destroyed
But
every single thing.
if you but if you keep saying communist and
Family,
Democrat together, like they're not interchangeable, you're going to turn off people that are Democrats on party that don't agree with policy, and those are the ones
you
that are
know,
walking away, and you're going to turn them off, and they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to
I
listen.
don't care about I
Okay.
don't care
Well,
about
I do.
Democrats.
I care about
Everybody should hate Democrats.
I
But
don't.
I'm going to tell you
I
something.
don't. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. There are three parties today,
What's
and
that?
the Republican Party better understand this. The Democrat Party is the Communist Party, and the Republican Party is the Democrat Party.
You make me want to not use the word communist anymore because I think it's.
And well, you know what? That's your prerogative, I guess.
But that's
you don't want to fight. Then you know what? Do not ever say thank you to a soldier.
You're
Don't ever
wrong.
say
You're
thank
wrong,
you
and
to
you
a
can't
service.
dictate that. That's not up to you to
Don't ever
dictate.
put a wreath on a
That's-
white headstone at
That is not up to you to dictate. And not only,
Don't ever put because that is what.
but
That
you're
is why
wrong.
those young men.
You don't get to decide which way that all happens. You don't get to decide that. And I do Reese Across America every year, and I actually MC the event. And I don't consider myself not a patriot because I don't say communist every moment. And do we have some communist factions? Yes. Is socialism turned into communist? Yes. Is a Democratic Socialist Association or of America, Democratic Socialist America, a program that is embracing communist ideals and wants to take us down that road? Absolutely, yes. And I've read their manifesto. I understand it. I've read it on air. But I don't have to keep beating people with a stick over it. I'm not going to.
You have to because people forget.
I'm not going to. It will turn people away that otherwise would listen.
I think you're wrong.
Okay, we're going to disagree on that.
I think you're dead wrong. Let me ask you: Do you think that Joe McCarthy was right in what he did?
In most things, yes. I think that I think he was. It became so much that he became a hammer. All he saw was a nail, and eventually the populace said enough already. They grew weary of it, that it was doing too much. And I think he lost the argument because of that. Otherwise, it would have it wouldn't have ended in such a way that it turned people off, and it did at one time. It's at some point they called it McCarthyism and it looked at it as a negative. Yeah.
Well, let me just change the prism a little bit here because a little bit of olive branch.
Okay.
You know aviation.
Yes.
I mean, every time when I get frustrated at the Republican Party and how just spineless they are, I have to go to YouTube and look at all the new aviation stuff we have, all the new jets that we have.
Yeah.
You know, it's just our military, the aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
And when you think of the wing, the simple wing, with the physics and that creates lift.
Mm-hmm.
I'm odd at the jet wing, which is almost a razor blade.
Yeah,
but that little bit it's got a little bit of that physics that allows it to have lift. And what people don't realize is, you can go to an air show and you see the Blue Angels and you see the jets perform. They don't have any armament on them.
Right.
Isn't it amazing that with all that armament, that lift still is in effect? Those jets can do with the armament that the Blue Angels do without it. To me, that's amazing.
Well, when you lighten that plane up, it's all horsepower, man. It's just all all power. You put it's made to carry thousands of pounds, and you take that thousands of pounds off, man. That thing is spry, and it does tremendous aerobatics.
It still has the maneuverability with that stuff on.
Of course, yeah, it does. Yeah, and at remarkable speed. I've never been able to. I've never taken a trip in one. I've always wanted to. A fighter jet. Never been in one, but I would love it to be able to fly in that thing.
How much does something like that cost?
Well, you can get yourself involved in those. Some retired ones and stuff. There's a place out in California that does dog fighting or something. That would teach you that and do those kind of things. I don't know. I don't think it's cheap. I've never had that opportunity. I mean, I've flown some turboprops before, but I've never flown a jet.
Did you ever parachute?
No, I have. A couple times, tandem. I've only done tandems. I've jumped out of perfectly good airplanes. I've jumped out with the Golden Knights, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
It was a lot of wind. It was a lot of wind. Yeah, it was.
Once you came under canopy, there was no wind.
No,
right.
Well, once you come under canopy, it's more fun. You can actually control it, and of course they gave me the controls of the canopy, but it's 150 mile an hour wind in your face and falling and all that stuff. I didn't feel a sense of falling by any means. There was no fear or anything like that, but the ground's slowly getting closer. But I jumped out about 10,000 feet, and the first time I jumped, it was out of it was a Cessna that we jumped out of. And I did it over at Somerton Airport. And I was watching while I was under canopy and steering the thing a little bit. And I was watching that airplane land. And I decided right then that I needed to be flying the airplane and not jumping out with a parachute. I have much more maneuverability. And I would say within a month after that, I bought my first airplane before, and I'd never taken a lesson in my life. And I bought an airplane. And then I found a way, I found people to teach me.
So you parachuted twice.
Yes, I've jumped out twice.
So the second time, what did you think of the second time once you had all of the gear?
That was at YPG with the Golden Knights, and I was attached to some lieutenant colonel that took me, which was wonderful. She was with the Air Force Academy, and I got to talk about my son, who was at the Air Force Academy at the time, and which makes my son mad because he doesn't want attention. He did not like that at all. Talk to somebody that, oh yeah, my son, look him up, and I had a 3-star general do that one time. Look him up. I met him at a NASCAR race in North Carolina, and in the pits, and I said I'd like to talk to him. Because he thought I was wanting to talk to Michael Waltrip. And I said, no, I'd like to talk to you. And I talked to him a little bit about it. And he went and saw my son. My son he didn't talk to me for a year. He doesn't like that. He's a little low profile, man. He's a little more low profile. But now he's a lieutenant colonel. He just got stationed in Tucson.
Well, Kudos to you, sir. Much
Yeah.
respect out to you and him.
Yeah, I live
But,
vicariously through him.
But I hate soccer.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I enjoy the fact that Trump bought that game here, and all of the people who came to this country didn't want to leave. They were so amazed, overly amazed at how Americans live.
you say that term "all," which is hyperbole a little bit, but and in this case, it might be true. It might be true because I've seen so many videos now of them just going to Sam's Club, to Buc-ee's, to so many things, and so many people from Europe are just like blown away. This isn't what we know about America because we get, our news media is showing you guys as
The
in the
media
jungles
condemns
of,
this country.
downtown being shooting each other or something.
Mhm.
And it's not like that. And there's abundance, and there's things here that just pops their eyes out. It's just kind of funny to watch. If you get, look at a Sam's Club YouTube from when the Europeans were here to watch soccer go through a Sam's Club, they're just like shocked, which is hilarious. Like, how could that be shocking? I don't know. I don't know.
Because they don't know, they don't know the bounty that we, and they're in America when America's at its worst. That's the unfortunate thing. They see America when we're at our worst.
Let me say, I'm going to agree and disagree with that. I think if you go out in the country and everything, you don't really know the politics and the stuff, and you don't see it.
Sure.
You're not close to it. We're
Sure.
our worst as far as our viciousness and our hatred and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really spill over into the small communities on a daily basis. You're not going to see it.
But people have to recall their history when you had the kitchen debate with Khrushchev and Nixon, as Nixon is the vice president.
Yeah.
And Khrushchev came over here, and that was the reason why Eisenhower brought him over here. So let him see firsthand what America was like. And he was extremely jealous. And so he tried to play a trick on the Soviets when he went back. He somehow got a hold of a 8mm film that was filming America in the gay 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And his idea was, look at how backward these people are. Look at how they dress. And it backfired on him because the people said, yes, but everybody has a car.
Yeah.
So, this is the last best place to live on this earth. The last best place. People come here. They want to come here.
Yeah.
We have to kill it. We have to squeeze the neck until the head pops off of communism. And that is the Democrat Party.
Yeah, and I think we do that by discussing it and to be able to discuss it, I don't think we can scream and berate people. I think we need to discuss.
You think I scream?
Yep. And I don't, I think you're so passionate. I think you're so passionate and so aggressively, I'm right, and there's no discussion about it, that it will seem like screaming to people at times. I mean, I don't discount your passion and your message. I think you're right. I just can't emulate that and think I would continue to have any audience listening.
Oh. Anyway, that was my 2 cents.
I appreciate it,
You
sir.
have a great day.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. That was Mike. I think Mad Mike had labeled him as Angry Mike. One thing he wants to differentiate. Edward has texted me a few things, which is interesting. Oil alert that Brent oil has fallen to 83.82. Again, this roller coaster of a ride that we've been on for the last few months. It's been up to, I think it reached about 120 for a few seconds or something, but 110, 120 in there for a little while, and then it hovered above 100, and then it got down to the 80, maybe 79 at a low mark within the last few months. And I'm talking Brent crude, and then recently it went right back up to 100. Now it's back down to 83. It's a roller coaster. So it just shows that things they're feeling more comfortable and letting ships go through the Hormuz Strait. Probably. Let's talk to Ted. Hey, Ted.
Sorry to bother you again. I have a question.
Shoot.
Do you have a clock there in your office?
It's 8:24.
All right. Why does it say live in Capitol Hill? I'm watching, the memorial. 10:39. Now I know it's 2 hours different.
That means it was live. No, it should
yeah,
it should be 11.
be
It's
less than
11:24. It should be 11:24 right now on Capitol Hill.
I guess so, man.
They're
I don't
3
know,
hours. They're 3 hours ahead.
That's what I thought.
Well, live means it was live when they taped it, and they don't
Right.
and they don't always take that off when they reshow it. You get that on YouTube a lot. You'll see something that's labeled live and it's 3 days old.
Right. But shouldn't it be 10:24?
No, it's 3 hours.
Okay. I mean, I know that. I'm just trying to figure out the
It's 11
minutes, 'cause it's always
11:24.
yeah. So it's because their time is delayed, or their
It's earlier in the morning
broadcast is
there.
delayed.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, it's not.
No,
it's
I
not
know.
delayed. They're 3 hours ahead.
It's
of us.
later.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Right.
Right now, and then daylight savings time and all that other stuff rolls around. I don't know. It becomes 2 hours, which is a hassle because we get used to the 3 hours, and then it becomes 2
Right.
hours. And I talk to a lot of people on the East Coast, and I'll get them to call me, and I have to remember like, what time is it there today? I'll be really glad if it all goes away and we're all in the same time frame, and it stopped changing. I like that we would, but I don't know if it'll ever happen.
They can't. They can't get their own. They can't even get to work on time.
There's probably bigger issues like the Save America Act before we worry about the daylight savings.
Like I said, they can't do their job right. Why should they get that right?
Well,
anyway,
they're working on it.
Yeah, right.
The Save America Act is still a discussion. It's still in the open. It's still being discussed. It's not completely dead yet, and some people may disagree with me, and in the long run, it may be.
Toon needs to pass it through and be done with it. I don't know what his little game is, but he's just causing a problem.
Toon.
He's
got
his marching order.
I think his heart's not in it. There's no passion behind it or whatever. Some of the stuff I read recently, though, I mean, Trump keeps pushing, puts him on Air Force One, rides with him, and I'm sure that conversation ain't dying. And that's not dying. I don't know what'll happen in the long run, but I understand there's hope this week that possibly something could happen, but who knows?
Who's the commander-in-chief?
Who, the Trump? Yeah, of course. But he doesn't control.
He told him to pass it.
He doesn't control everybody.
He told him to pass it.
Well, well, getting that done, is a tough job. But I don't know that he's put his heart into it. He just said, nothing I can do. At least that's the image I see, that most people see. That
that's what they're portraying of him.
Yeah, that he hasn't put his whole heart into it. And it's like, he's one or two votes short. And you got some people that are such Trump haters. They're going to hold it up just because it pisses off Trump.
Well, they better remember that hating him in this respect is hating the regular rest of the country.
Well, then you're bringing logic into an emotional issue again. You're right. I mean, I agree with you, but it's not gonna convince them of anything. I don't know how, but you got to get to them in some other way because it's emotion driving. It's not logic. At this point, it's like, well, I can't give Trump a win, and I think that's what happened to McCain when the Obamacare thing came along.
Right. No, you're right. It's just high school politics, as usual.
Logic will never help you on those things. So there's got to be another way. And I don't know what's going on with Mitch McConnell. Like he's 40 days in the hospital, but he's okay, man. Like, what do you mean he's okay?
Well, look, we had representatives from here in Arizona that never showed up.
Yes, Grijalva didn't go in for a year. He was I think he was on hospice, and he didn't resign. He didn't go in. He didn't vote. And McCain, was missing quite a bit at the end. He didn't resign, and it was unfortunate. I liked McCain. Don't get me wrong, I liked him. Some things he did that just didn't make me happy, but that didn't mean I didn't like him. But
there's good and bad people on both sides, Russ.
Yeah, well, even people you like occasionally don't agree with you 100% of the time, and that's okay.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah, we can do
Anybody talks to you will know that.
that. Yeah, well, I get that a lot. but I
Well,
keep going.
thank you for clarifying my missing time here.
All right. Yeah,
Uh,
3 hours.
You have a good.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah. No, I knew that. I'm talking about the minutes.
Oh,
the
okay.
minutes didn't line up.
Well, there's not that. There's always a delay, but it's not that big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
That was Mr. Ted. See, I've got a code for a second. There we go. I got a code on my phone. I had to forward it to my office. See, I'm always working. Lindsay's Graham's funeral's at 2:00 today, by the way. And that's 2:00 DC time. So it's 11:30 now. You got about an hour and a half before that. Let me see. And Edward wrote me a few things here, other than the gas. And he said the average military fighter jet stripped down runs between 500,000 to over 4 million. And I'm assuming he means like surplus stuff or used stuff or whatever. And there are some military jets that can be put into private hands. And yeah, there's collectibles. There's people that restore, World War II type military jets and stuff, and or not jets, but prop planes on that. Some of it's jets, but they can be. You're not going to get it like an F-22, but you can get some stuff and fly them. When I text back to Edward, I said that's just the entry fee. Okay, the entry fee is to buy it for 500 to 4,000 a million or 4 million. I don't know what the insurance would run. I can't imagine, but the expense of keeping that thing going in the air and having somebody look at that regularly would be prohibitive. That would not be a cheap venture. To have somebody wrenching on that constantly would be looking over it would be kind of expensive. It's one of those things you may spend $500,000 buying an old jet. You may spend a couple million the next 2 years trying to fly it. just expensive. Just fuel on that thing. They don't even put they don't put gallons in. It's how many pounds. How many pounds of fuel are we going to put in that thing? I want to talk about a surgery that a woman went through for a minute. Hospital stuff that kind of scary happens. I can't believe this one happened, but a woman went into a surgery in Maine because she had a benign ovary cyst, kind of not an uncommon surgery, I don't think. I think it's kind of common. Benign ovary cyst. Her name's Emily Mitchell. And that happened back in March 1st, 2023. And when she came out of it, she was still in the hospitals. I mean, her conditions were worsening, and she was transferred to another hospital for emergency surgery. And when they went into emergency surgery to find out what's going on with her, because things aren't working for some reason, they discovered in emergency surgery that her bladder had been removed during the original operation. Now, they went in to remove a cyst. I've never heard of this before, of anything this crazy. You hear the occasional problems where somebody, I mean, I know it's happened where somebody has a, really horrible diseased legs or something, and one leg needs to be removed, and they cut off the wrong one. That's happened before. That's why we get policies that before you go into surgery, you take a magic marker and X where the surgery's going to be, and they ask you tons of questions to make sure that never happens. But to remove a bladder when you're going in for a cyst, I don't know how you mix that up. I'm not a surgeon. I've never been through. I mean, I've had through some surgeries, but I've never done that. But that just sounds like that should never happen. That's kind of weird. Now, that's irreversible. You can't fix that. There was insufficient healthy bladder tissue remaining to reconstruct or repair the organ. I mean, this is going to be like one of the worst nightmares ever to do that, to go in with a benign ovary cyst, and I know you sign forms going in knowing that anything can happen. I mean, surgery can go wrong at any level. It's but this is kind of weird mistake. And she did get $17 million in a settlement, but that doesn't fix her. That's not good. And the organization, the Northern Lights Inland Hospitals, now out of business after 80 years. They closed the doors. They claim that immense pressure of higher operational costs, unsustainability, low reimbursement rates, and a tight labor market were the reasons. Of course, I no indication of what happened to this doctor or whoever was doing this, and how that could happen. I have no idea. But she relied on a bilateral nephropathy tubes to drain. So she had tubes put into her kidneys that come out through the skin of the lower back into both kidneys to allow urine to flow into external bags attached to the exposed ends of the tubes. And she's experienced reoccurring urinary tract infections, kidney infections, multiple medical procedures, and ongoing complications. I mean, this lady's life has been turned into a huge nightmare. How unfortunate for Emily Mitchell. The $17 million isn't going to help her, really. But she's got to use a catheter. She's had other surgeries to create a new bladder, and there's a procedure called a neobladder, which doesn't. I mean, it'll collect urine, but it won't work like a bladder completely. She has to still use a catheter multiple times to empty that bladder, and then ongoing medical treatment from specialists related to the loss of the bladder. I don't know how long it took the jury to find out that there was a problem. That her damages covering the past and future medical expenses, suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, and emotional distress and permanent impairment. Wow, what a horrible thing to happen. I've heard of mistakes made, and they're playing with people's lives. I mean, the surgeons making a mistake is a much bigger deal than a guy building a table. If you make a leg too short or something, you can fix it and replace it. That you can't fix. You're not gonna be able to fix that. It's a lot more impactful. How scary is that? And I read that. That was horrific this morning to read that one. I was like, wow. So yeah, be careful when you go in there. Don't go in for unnecessary surgery that you don't need. Yeah, Joan Rivers died of a plastic surgery thing. It was not required to save her life or anything. It was just, and I don't know what happened. The last thing she said, I remember she was like on the sidewalk or something going in, and she was going to talk about it more. But she said one of the last things she said was that Michelle Obama's a man or something. She'll prove it later, and she went in and got surgery and never made it out. That was plastic surgery. Let me see. Mercedes-Benz could face a U.S. ban. Of course, I don't own a Mercedes, so wouldn't hurt me. But I'm not in favor of an unnecessary ban for any reason for commerce. But there's a Senate bill right now that are targeting Chinese automakers, and there's a concern that there's Chinese products that might have spy devices or something put in them, or put into the electronics or something that is collecting data that could be harmful to the United States. So the Senate bill is targeting Chinese automakers to not let them be imported for that reason. Well, Mercedes-Benz is a Chinese company. At least 20% of it is. They have a 20% investment in the Mercedes-Benz. It's not a German company solely anymore. Well, according to the law, that the bill that's going through to the Senate, that any automaker that's more than 15% ownership by China, potentially affecting, could be barred from sale in the United States. Senator Elisa Slotkin out of Michigan and Bernie Moreno, a Republican, one Democrat, one Republican, have sponsored bills, bipartisan legislation, and said it would codify the expanded restrictions established under the Biden administration, arguing it closes the door on Chinese origin vehicle software and key components at every stage from production, importation to sale, so that data gathered on U.S. roads can't be funneled back to Chinese government. Chinese cars are surveillance packages on wheels with the ability to collect an American citizen and transmit that data back to Beijing. Said the measure aims to prevent an absolute, total, and complete destruction of our industrial base. China's auto industry was not built to compete. It was built to destroy America. That's according to Bernie Moreno, Republican out of Ohio. He said manufacturing put the middle class and undermine our national security. Gut the middle class, I'm sorry. Ted Cruz, who's the Commerce Committee, he chairs it, warned that Mercedes-Benz could effectively be shut out of the U.S. market if the legislation becomes law without changes. Said the bill needs changes. Cruz accused General Motors of pushing the measure, which is interesting. If General Motors pushed it, that's a pushing to, what, do away with the competition? Well, that's what he's accusing them of. Accusing the measures to push the Mercedes-Benz out of the market and make its Cadillac brand more appealing. We would never consider banning Mercedes in the United States. GM contended that the legislation does not attempt to target an individual automaker. They said that it supports policies and strengthens American manufacturing and the global competitiveness of U.S. automakers. As we have said many times, we can compete with anyone in the world when we are given a level playing field. That's according to General Motors spokesman. He accused General Motors of wanting to put the Cadillac brand more appealing. I don't know where that comes from. Mercedes-Benz highlighted its extensive U.S. operations, stressing it continues to support legislation designed to protect United States national security. Mercedes-Benz also remains committed to ensuring that any legislation does not impact our operation. The company will continue to safeguard its employees, dealers, suppliers, and customers. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been listening to this for quite some time that Chinese infrastructure and in the United States could be spying on us, and I know there was a real concern over our electrical infrastructure. Those hubs of capacitors and things that the Chinese seem to have at a good price, and that we've bought a lot of, that they might in some way cause a national security problem. If China can take control of those and shut down electric grids or mess with our electric grids. I don't know that I've ever seen anything where somebody's had proof that it exists and they have an opportunity to get into those chips and do something. I don't understand that well enough, but there's been enough people coming forward with real concerns. I don't know what's been done about it yet. Let me see. GM intends to move production of its Chinese-made Buick Envision to the United States for the 28 model year. So GM's even making stuff in China, which I already knew. In fact, they make some of their cars in China that under a different flag, and then send them into Europe and other places too. Ford has agreed to transfer Chinese-made Lincolns into the United States. Moreno says he looks at that as a big victory, that Ford's bringing it back. And I like it too. I like that a lot of manufacturers being brought back under Trump. Trump has been pushing to get manufacturing back in the United States. Google's self-driving vehicle, Waymo. They've been in talks with Chinese automaker Geely about platforms coming from China, has committed to looking at Detroit-based manufacturers for its future platforms. So I wonder if they bring like Waymo and these other cars back into the United States to make them. Are they still using the chips from China? That possibility exists. Or, electronics from China? And is that not really the problem more than just the vehicle itself as far as national security? Cruz said another bill provision backed by General Motors would require automakers to purchase more expensive batteries from GM, adding $5,000 to the vehicle cost. And of course, Cruz points that out because, as he said before, he thinks some of this legislation was meant to strictly help General Motors. Some of it is what he's accusing General Motors doing is they want to sell more Cadillacs, so eliminate your competition, Mercedes-Benz. Trump administration last month banned Polestar from selling new connected vehicles in the United States, started in 2027 model year, due to the Sweden-based automaker being majority owned by Geely, which is a China company. Polestar's sister brand and co-founder Volvo Cars said in May that it had given a green light to continue selling cars in the United States. So they're still going to bring in the Volvo cars, even though they have an owner that, or I don't know if it's a partial owner, that's a Chinese owner that's doing Volvos. I don't see very many Volvos on the floor, on the ground, or on the roads. You don't see as many Volvos. At one time, Volvo used to be known as the safe car. Like it paid attention to crunch zones and driver safety, and started highlighting driver safety. And like the old American cars from the 50s and the 60s. I mean, they were very behind on that kind of stuff of building a car. You could hit something head on, and the engine would end up in the passenger compartment of a car. Very bad. And Volvo was kind of one of the first noted, at least from what I remember, first noted as being crumple zones, and you had a head-on collision. The engine would be forced down into the ground, just would break away down instead of back. Those kind of simple things that we take for granted now. I mean, the cars have crush zones now that, on impact, that takes the energy, away before it gets to the passenger compartment. Hopefully. And a lot of times you see an accident, but the passenger in the car is just a mangled mess, but the passenger compartment is still intact. And it gives you an opportunity to walk away, which is always a good thing. So Mercedes-Benz could be in trouble, but I don't know how many Mercedes we sell, but Mercedes is not a small brand in the United States. You see a lot of Mercedes out there. They're still popular. I know we've had them in the shop. We don't mind. Chris doesn't mind. I say we. It's Chris. Chris is the technician. But there's some things we just aren't going to do because it takes specialized tools, specialized equipment, or specialized electronics. And the only way to do that is to take it to Mercedes in the long run. Anyway, even if we did a repair, we'd have to take it up to Phoenix to get it put onto their computers, to get the systems to talk to each other or something. Why we do work on them, but if it comes into an extensive under the hood and in the engine compartment and stuff, then we just, while we can do it, we just don't have the expertise to where we could do it effectively. I mean, in a short amount of time, quite often. And whenever you go to the shop and you get an estimate, the way that people do an estimate, and anybody will do an estimate, is you look at a lot of the books that will lay out the time allotted and needed to do certain functions, like replace a head gasket or replace a water pump or something, and you can look up the make, the model, the type of vehicle, and it'll tell you what time that it takes to get that procedure done. It could be an hour, 10 hours, depending on the vehicle and where it's, what type. But those guidelines allow mechanics to write an estimate saying, okay, I know it's going to be so many hours. Well, you could look at those books and it could talk about the Mercedes and it says so many hours, but if you're not used to working on the Mercedes, you're going to spend a lot of time researching and looking and finding out, for sure how to handle certain procedures and taking things apart. And that just takes a lot more time. So sometimes it's not worth it for us to do it because it's going to take a lot more time and you're more, but we'll tell you that. We'll tell you that. Like, look, I'd love to do the work, but we don't even have the tools sometimes. So sometimes these car manufacturers will make specialized tools. I mean, you could buy the tools; they're very expensive. And if you work on Mercedes every day, of course, it makes sense to buy the tools. We don't work on them every day, so we're not generally going to do that. Let me see. One of my guests, and I know there was a mention about Dr. Aaron Cooper. was being paid by Kaiser in prominent ads. No record of Anderson Cooper being paid. That's interesting. And I was wondering why they would be paying Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper is a journalist. I don't remember exactly who said that. I mean, politicians are paid, and doctors, because politicians, for legislation and stuff. I mean, a lot of businesses will support politicians that support those industries. AOC, a prime example of the electorate electing a representative whose elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. It's an interesting way to push it. I think she makes a lot of bad decisions. Some stuff she seems to be able to say and do anything that's ridiculous or doesn't make sense, and nobody seems to care. So that one article I read that white guys get away with stuff that other people can't because that's just not true to my knowledge. I mean, I just don't see that as true. Comment from a listener says, I would like to see Angry Mike give up his Social Security, a program that came from the Democratic Party or Communist. That's actually funny. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to call every Democrat a communist. I don't think that's fair. I think the Democratic Party is misguided, policy-wise, and I think their policies are terrible. And yeah, they are rooted in Marxism, especially when you start talking about the democratic socialist of America and all that stuff is just absolutely off the charts, ridiculous in my opinion. On that kind of stuff, it would just lead to it would be redoing the whole Constitution of the United States. It would just take the Constitution, throw it away, and adopt constitutional values from Marxist countries. I can't believe they even put that in writing, but they did. They did. That's their manifesto. I don't think it's going to work for them. This article out of U.S. News and World Report listed the 26 best states rankings. I don't know all the criteria. Some of it's listed here, and I did a little research. But let me take. I got Mike again. Good morning, Mike.
What does she want me to do with my Social Security number?
Turn it in and abandon the issue, and don't take Social Security because it's a communist program.
Who said that?
Another listener. I don't know them. I don't know. I don't know them. I don't know. And look, Social Security is exactly what it is. It's a social type program, but it doesn't make us a socialist. The country.
No. That person does not understand. What did you say about AOC? The elevator doesn't go all the way to the top.
I think that's an indication that she doesn't always think clearly. Yes,
that is a ridiculous argument.
Why?
In lieu of what?
Why is that ridiculous? You think she's not a men's?
Well, there's a lot of things in America that requires regulation.
Right.
Does that mean we should abandon the roads?
Yeah.
Does that mean we should abandon,
No. And we make policies for for consistency, like driving on the right side of the road. That's our policy.
And that has nothing to do with communism. Social Security was started, and we paid into it all of our life.
Yep.
And, but a little kicker, I'm living off of Social Security right now.
Okay.
Part of what I make.
Yeah.
So, but that's my money.
Yep, it is. I agree. It's not an entitlement like SNAP program.
So what is that person trying to say? That's my money.
Oh, well, I think it was tongue in cheek in saying, well, if you don't like communism,
I understand. Well, it was a bad tongue in cheek, and really, in the Social Security card. So why do you have a driver's license? Why does that person have a credit card?
Well, it's not all.
Why do we need a passport?
Well,
the whole idea of communism in this country is to destroy the Constitution, which that person enjoys living under.
Yeah. By
my brothers who lie under white headstones.
You would have to destroy our capitalistic society in order to bring in a complete socialistic country, communist type country, and that's what the democratic socialists of America are. I mean, if you have you read the stuff they want to do, it's just ridiculous. It's just it would completely do away with the presidency, do away with the Senate, do away with the Supreme Court, and then appoint Supreme Court, appoint a leader. It's just crazy, and put all the power into one branch of government, and have no balance of power at all, no check and balance of any kind, and then we'd end up like a dictatorship, and that would be it.
I would have to ask the person who made that comment, do they still wear a mask?
I doubt it. Uh-oh. I don't know if that's me cut. I didn't touch anything. I didn't cut anything off. I might be my phone. Oh, Edward writes in, Social Security is not a communist. It's based on socio-capitalistic theory. I don't know what that is, social-capitalistic theory. I'm going to have to look that up. But I know it's not communist. There's so many people say it's social, because even in the word, it's social security. And it's forced on us. It's not an opportunity to say no. We don't get to pick it. It picks us at birth now. As soon as you're in the hospital and born, they will they give you a Social Security card. Say, welcome. You got a Social Security card. As far as the U.S. News and World Report, the 2026, the best states ranking, the Texas claimed the highest ranking. Hey, Mr. Mike, did you hang up on me?
Hey, I didn't. No, I did not, sir. I'd never do that.
Might be something wrong with my phone, because it happened to
I
Gilbert.
ran out of juice.
Oh, you did?
I ran out of juice.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I called back because I didn't want you to think I'm up on you.
Okay.
But,
I didn't think you would.
and really, last thing I want to say is this communist encroachment on our society is no joke, and I hope people take it more serious than we already are.
I think it's getting traction, that people are understanding the Mandani types, and those that are dedicated to destroying our documentation, and our Constitution, are crazy and would absolutely destroy the country. I think so. I think they are.
But I had the opportunity to work with a Russian defector who was who was at the emergency room. He was a doctor.
Uh-huh.
He was at the emergency room for Chernobyl. I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
But he relays a story that says it all. You can have gum in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, not the difference of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had a pack of gums of 5 sticks, your neighbor's telling on you.
Why?
Why do you have a pack of gum?
You're not allowed to have gum in? Oh, if they ban gum. Okay, yeah.
So long as you only have 1 stick. But if you had a pack of gum, a pack that's got like 5 sticks, your neighbor's going to tell on you. They're going to tell somebody, and somebody's going to come and talk to you. That's a reality of life. That is not a short joke. That is not a short story. That is a reality.
Yeah.
That's communism.
Well, I think it was like that in fascism, and it's getting like that in Europe, man. It's getting like that in United Kingdom.
It's already here, and how we are the First Amendment is censored. Yeah. The First Amendment censoring only works for MAGA. It doesn't work for Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Democrats push it more to go after. And you saw what they did under Biden, where they had,
of course,
had the government agents working in social media offices. It's crazy.
At the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, it did.
But again, I called you back to tell you I didn't hang up on you, and I just commented on that person's thing.
I appreciate it.
A second, but you have a good day, sir.
You too, man. Bye-bye. As Mr. Mike. And I'm not going to get to this last story because I've only got a couple minutes. He mentioned Chernobyl, somebody from Chernobyl. Chernobyl's actually in Ukraine. It was a Soviet program, a Soviet deal. It's close to the Russian border, but it's not in Russia. It's in Ukraine. My son visited that. You could take a tour But you wear some kind of patch that accumulates radiation, so that they know that you didn't get a dose, and they tell you to walk in certain areas, don't go through the woods kicking up dust and all that stuff. It's still a lot of radioactivity around there. It's the highest concentration of wolves in the world. They got the highest concentration because there's no predators in the area. No man shooting them. Nobody's keeping them thinned out. Can't go hunting out there. So there's a highest concentration of wolves. That's just an interesting thing that he brought back with him. That tidbit that the wolves own the place, man. And they're mostly radioactive. You don't want those you don't want those things biting you anyway. You want to stay away from them. I'm out of time, so I will talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. It's already Tuesday. Mortgage One Studios. Russ Clark. See you then.